live.
Nice.
Let's see when it starts. Ba-da-ba-ba-da.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going through? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Hey.
I'll pop out the chat.
Oh, me too.
Okay, so this video, I watched it earlier. Oh my god, it is friggin' funny. It's so funny. And I don't know if this dude is delusional or what, or dishonest, or he just really doesn't get it. I feel like he just really doesn't get it. I think he has terrible comprehension to the context of what's going on around him. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, let's move over to
Live
the
stream?
live stream. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's better. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Let's give it a couple minutes, but yeah, I think we could probably recap a little bit of what we saw from the debate.
Yeah.
But boy, was that bad. There's a part at the beginning of this where he talks about how like he's been taking in things from what people are saying, like in the comments and stuff.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, when people do that, right, like they look at their own comments, but what a good idea would be is to look at their comments, like go to Lauren Southern's video of the debate and look at the comments. You know, a lot of it's going to be just straight up like, yeah, fucking retard, yeah, this guy's so dumb. But, you know, there's going to be some constructive things in there saying why you sucked. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just finding that, you know. But that's going to be easier to find as opposed to your own audience, who's going to be the opposite of that, where you're going to go there and a lot of it's just going to be like, yeah, what an idiot. Well, on your side,
Yeah.
it's going to be, oh, man, you did so good and blah, blah, you know, boosting your ego because they're your audience.
Yeah.
They just care about you, you know. They don't agree with anything Lauren Southern says, and they'll never be at a point where they say, oh, she did good, man, you know, because they never agree with any of it.
Yeah. Or that made you look really bad,
Mhm.
Lance. Like, what did you
Oh,
think
yeah.
was going to happen?
Yeah, I don't know how he could think he came out anything but bad in this. He also says he did good in the second half of the debate, and that's what everybody's telling him. I didn't see it. Like, I have no idea how anybody could think the second half was good either.
Mhm.
Like, the way he explains it kind of sounds like he's, like he doesn't understand the context. And it was like, you didn't do well. You didn't even have the debate. That wasn't even the topic. Like, he starts saying the things that he said, and he was like, oh, yeah, this was good, and this was good. And I'm like, but those weren't even part of the debate, so they weren't good.
Yeah.
But it shows,
Made them look really silly.
I think he kind of has some sort of, like, not understanding of himself either, to the point where he kind of exposes himself, and you kind of get how his mentality works and why he does certain things. Like it seems like he's not that. This is where I say he's in bad faith, and he doesn't understand what that means. But he's in bad faith in a sense that he doesn't go on to debates to debate what you would normally go to a debate for. So, like, when you go to a debate,
Yeah.
people go there with the concept, oh, we have two opposing ideas, let's discuss it, and maybe we can both figure out like a middle point, or we can refine our own ideas or stuff like that, right? He goes on there just to throw out information, like activist information, right? Like talk about, oh,
Yeah.
this is what's happening to the indigenous people, but he's not there to like actually argue the point of what they were arguing, you know?
And try and make Lauren
Mhm.
look bad. Like, just what a waste
Yeah,
of time.
that's one of
It's
those
like,
things. That's part of his activism, right? Like, part of it was, I
mm,
want to go on there and call Lauren a fascist to her face. He has a big explanation he's done before about how she's making this little comeback tour now, and that she's
yeah.
like trying to rebrand herself. And I think he's wrong on that. I think he thinks she's trying to get away from the things that she was before and rebrand
Yeah.
herself as something like not that. But I don't think she is. I think she's just softening up from
what she was doing in the past.
from what she was doing in the past. She's older now. She's married. She has a child. I think she's softened up a bit with age. And through experience of life. That happens.
Yeah.
But I think he kind of sees it as, oh, she's trying to rebrand herself because, the internet doesn't accept this and that and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, that's not what it is. It's just natural life occurrences, People
She
getting
seems
less
to be doing
extreme.
pretty well.
Mm-hmm. But I don't think she's changed her ideas of the values she's had before. She's pretty much arguing the same things, right? Like, what has she changed about what she's arguing, I think she's pretty much arguing the same thing. She's still making documentaries about the same kind of topics and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think she's distancing herself from who she used to be. I think she just came back saying, like, hey, listen, my ideas have softened a bit. This is what I'm going to be doing now,
Yeah.
All right, so let's...
It seems like not a big deal.
Yeah. Coming up, fucking... I really, really hate this coming up shit.
Why are conservatives so weird? Why are you so weird? I didn't want to put this on blast, but all of this...
Oh, yeah. Spoiler alert, that part was not weird. You're saying she's being weird, but it's not.
This is coward flexing.
Also, spoiler alert, this isn't coward flexing, or back out flexing, as he calls it. It actually seems more like he's the one doing that.
Where you keep one-upping yourself, so you're
would
hoping
you be
that,
able
like...
to share the live stream in here?
Oh, I didn't do it. Sorry, we switched channels, and I forgot that I closed that one. I did. Bloop.
Oh. Cool.
All right. That's better, right?
Oh, no way, Lance is gonna do this. Yeah, okay, Lance, I agree. One-on-one. But Destiny is the moderator. The guy you're not really talking to, not on good terms with, the one who kind of coached me for that debate. Destiny is the moderator. I'm like, no, just one-on-one like we agreed. All right, one-on-one, in person.
One-on-one like we agreed. You guys didn't agree to a one-on-one. She said one-on-one with Destiny as the moderator. You said, no, let's just do a one-on-one with no moderator. Like, you guys didn't agree on that. Like,
to be determined. Terms to be determined as well.
And then she responded with, if you don't want a moderator, okay, but let's do it live in person. She said, we're in the same city. We can meet up and do this live in person and record it.
So she didn't back out.
And he's trying to be like, oh, she's backing out in a way that she keeps adding a different thing every time I agree. And she adds another thing. And he's like, I've agreed to all the terms that she set up. But it's like he's not agreeing to it. He's disagreed to each one. And then she changes it. Because he disagrees to one, she changes it, and then he disagrees again, and then goes to the, why do you keep changing it? And it's like, because you keep disagreeing with what she's offering. It's fucking crazy. And then he's saying that she keeps disagreeing to like have a way to back out, and she'll never, get it right.
Yeah.
It's really strange. It's not weird. What's weird is him not understanding how like normal negotiations work. That's called a negotiation, right? Like you guys are trying to figure out the terms of your debates. Her first offer was demanding a 1v1, but with Destiny as the mod. He doesn't want Destiny as the mod. He doesn't like that him and Destiny don't like each other. He doesn't want to put himself in that situation. That's fine, I think. But then she says, all right, but then let's do it in person. And this is where he's backing out. That's where he starts going, now we got to do it in person. First Destiny, now this. You keep adding things to it. But it's like, but you denied it. Like, that's why she's changed it now. So then after that, she says, fine, then I'll do a live stream like you want. I'll do a live stream 1v1. But make a video saying you're too much of a pussy to come call me a fascist to my face, which is exactly what's happening, And then that's where he stops it, and he's like, she's trying to, dodge out of it by making all these demands and blah, blah. And it's like, no, really, you're just backing out. That's really all it is. You could have met her demand from the beginning and either gone with the Destiny one or just met her in person and call her fascist to her face, just like he said he wanted to do when he tweeted that out.
Oh, wow. Now it's like scene within scene. So many scenes. All right, so as many of you know, the debate went down on Thursday. I ended up editing the debate. We released it. about 2.5 to 3.5 hours of the video coming out got overwhelmingly good reception.
Overwhelmingly good reception.
YouTube
Is that
customers
crazy?
that it was
That's
being served
his
to.
own
A lot of
audience.
people obviously said that things were mixed.
But obviously, he probably only
I
just
had
cares
a
about his own
handful
audience.
of comments
Yeah.
flood into my inboxes. I got
I bet
comments
he-
coming into my
he probably
DMs,
blocks
comments coming
people
into my
that
Twitter, my
start
Oh my
Discord,
god!
too much.
my
I wonder
email.
how many people he's blocked.
Most of which were pretty positive.
I think lately he's taken
most
to
of which
telling
were
his
along the
audience
lines
not to
of,
block
I think the
people,
two of you
Mhm.
struggled
But I'm
a lot
sure
at the
he used
start.
to a
I
lot.
think it was kind of irresponsible for you to let her get away with all the ground penetrating radar conspiracy theory stuff.
What
But
conspiracy
at the end
theory?
of the
That's
day,
funny too. What part of her talking
What
about
was
ground
the
penetrating
conspiracy?
radar was conspiracy theory? Like none of it was.
Yeah.
That I would have loved to seen
That's
how you would
weird.
bust her on that. He does go over something later that he thinks busts her on ground penetrating radar, but he still doesn't understand what she said. So he's basically debunking a straw man.
you really picked it up in the second half,
That you'll see.
and I was very impressed with the second half, especially because it seemed like you
The
really
second half, see?
understood what you were talking about, and this was directed towards me in relation to how the child welfare system of Canada has
Is it too
a.
late to trade her in for Lauren Northern?
I don't even know what that means about this. Thank you.
I
for
don't
letting me
even
know.
know what that means.
But a lot of discussion surrounding obviously how there's a set of institutional, or you can call it systemic racism in this country, and in academia those two are usually a little bit interchangeable, and that whether or not I would levy the charge of cultural genocide based on not only the inactions of the federal government of Canada, but I would say the action of the federal government of Canada to pursue legal actions towards
But that
the
wasn't-
families and
see,
children
he's-
who are in essence trying to
This is all the things he's talking about that he wanted to do on the debate, but none of these, but not maybe not none of these, but a lot of those weren't part of the debate. You know what I'm saying? Like the debate was about the church burnings. First off, the retaliation was the big topic that they said in their opening statements was they wanted to talk about whether it was justified to burn churches, right? And they never even get to that argument because they can't
No.
agree on what mass grave is. You know, that was the other part of the argument, whether they're really mass graves that were being discovered, which he fucks up later too when he tries to do the debunk and he shows something totally different. But we'll see.
to get money that they feel they are earned under what should be very equitable provisions provided by the federal government of this country. So that was pretty much the difference between the first and the second half. Were there a lot of problems? Yes. I have now watched multiple critiques of the debate. I've gone through multiple different versions of it. I've taken in a lot of the critiques, and I found
He's
one
taking
of the
them in.
common ones
He's taking them
that
in.
has
Taking
been
in the
coming
critiques.
forward by most people is that why, Lanza, why did you agree to do a 2v2? Why did you allow this person to come on? Because they did not do a sufficient job of defending the aspects of
true.
the
They
debate
did
that they were
not.
supposed to defend.
But neither did you. So
which I think
yeah, I wouldn't blame
genuinely
it on the partner
is just an
either.
unfair thing to levy towards one actor.
The partner made it worse, but Lance did terrible in his own right. Right? Like
Yeah,
it wasn't
the
like
partner said
it
nothing.
wasn't like Lance did all right and the guy brought him down and made it seem worse. No, even without him, you know, we could like cut out the parts where that guy was arguing and Lance will still do bad, you know.
It's
You
also
forget that guy's there.
I'm just gonna
Yeah. In fact, there are big portions where they themselves forgot that he was there. Remember, it's like Lance at one point asked, like, "Is Rabbit still here?"
put this out there. If you want to direct your hatred, you want to direct your ire, you want to direct your "this was a huge mistake," direct it at me. Direct it
But
entirely.
yeah,
at me.
directed at him.
Because, and I will demonstrate with receipts now, the debate was originally something that was proposed to me by a third party, someone who I've worked with before. Okay, this third party will remain anonymous for the course of this story. This third party asked me, Lance,
Dylan
would you
Burns.
be interested in debating Lauren Southern? To which I said yes. She then asked what would the topic be, and I said anything but talking about trans issues, because I've seen her have debates with Xander Hall, with Hunter Avalone over trans issues, and I just didn't want another two cis individuals to be talking about trans issues, their validity, blah blah blah. Lance's
Hold on, did he just call himself cis? Right? Oh yeah, well he identifies as a man. I guess that's true.
He says he, him, but that could be questionable.
I was gonna
He
say,
doesn't
doesn't
know
he
yet.
say? Well, he says he's bi. That's still identified.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well,
This virtue signaling. He just can't stop. Look, he's just even now he's virtue. But like that was basically my thing, and she totally agreed. She was like, "Yeah, thank God, I'm tired of debating lefties on that. What about if we did Catholic church burnings,
Yeah, of
stuff
course.
of that
Hardly
ire?"
anybody
The
wants
reason
to
I'm not
debate
putting these emails up
Catholic
right now is I'm pretty sure no one's going to find contention with any of this. If you'd like, yes, I can bring these emails up. But anyways, that was the back and forth. At which point I was like, "So, can we do 1v1? Can we do it Oxford style? We have opening,
Oxford
closing,
style.
middle pieces, all that kind of stuff." And then that brings us
Why?
to the first part of the What the Happened tour. So the first part of the What the Happened tour, because now I have to provide these all with dates. Because without dates, none of this is valid. So, the first date that I will present for evidence, July 23rd, 2021. Good morning, Lauren. Yeah, no problem. Health and family come first. Welcome home. Hope it's all about the baby. As for Lance, he's wanting to go in solo. So no to the... Oh, sorry. Fuck. I'm already fucked up with my timeline. I have to show the
Rushing
response
it.
before that response.
We are getting ready to make one of
Oh
Home
my
Chef's
God, no.
fast and fresh
No, we're not.
meals.
Shut up.
It's okay.
So he goes over this.
I'm not a manifesto
Look,
person.
funny how
Okay,
one of these
okay,
doesn't
sorry,
have a date,
sorry.
though. Didn't he say these were dated?
Dates
So
are
he,
important.
sorry, this one was first. There's no date on it, though. Like, what? Dude, how terrible is that? Oh my God.
Sorry, this one has to be taken back. Scuffed.
Horrendous.
Scuffed manifesto. This is
Oh,
why
I got a super chat.
Oh,
What's
nice.
up, Tuesday? It's going good. We're watching this hilarity unfold.
I'm not the
Thank you
manifesto
for the
guy,
super
okay?
chat.
You already have Destiny. You can do your manifestos. Anyways, the initial response to that was, I'll do Lance's
There's
show
no
on
date on it. Still bugging me out. The other one said
Yeah.
it, and he was talking about how
Very
he
blatant.
made sure to get the dates on these to show you that how the chronological order of this happened. I'll
All
do.
of her what she said is gonna have the dates visible,
Yeah.
but hers is gonna be questionable. And
I'll
his is
do
gonna be-
Lance's show on two conditions. One, that there is a moderator. Yeah, these two guys. And two, that you bring up somebody with him. Yeah.
conditions. One, there's a moderator, either Modern Day Debates or Dylan Burns.
Cheers.
Two, that I may
That's
bring
gotta
on
be
a
someone
second to
British,
debate
then.
and chat with me. I've already selected my
Maybe
second.
it's
Lance is
not,
feel free to
Dylan
bring
Burns.
his own Lauren. So these are the new conditions that she would like. Then, on Friday, July 23rd,
Nah,
the
now you
response
got
on
dates,
behalf
right?
of the third party, in this instance, me, him on my
Classic.
behalf. Lance is wanting to go in solo. So a 2v1 with Dylan as the moderator. Do you have a preferred option where you talk to people? As in, do you prefer calling in through Skype, Discord, Zoom? If so, what's your handle? So to summarize
blah,
everything
blah,
on
blah,
our end
blah.
so far, the time is going to be 3 p.m. or 4
Right, you
p.m.
got it.
The date is going to be August 5th. The host will be Dylan Burns. The format will be Oxford.
Boy.
The debate partner on behalf of
Dylan
Lance is solo. Debate topic, Indigenous issues. Again, I did not want to turn this into a battle royale. This was a topic that, yes, is pretty near and dear to my heart. It's something that I just wanted to speak about. So I just wanted to come in it. If you want to have a partner, I'm comfortable with that. You can
just
come in.
wanted to
I'll
come in
have
it.
a 2-on-1 counterpoints.
Is that what
but
he
I would like
said?
to handle this.
He just
Sounded
by
like what he
myself.
said.
I think he just said he just wanted to come
Then
in.
on
like to
July
come in it.
There we go.
28th,
Now we got another
With
date.
an online chess clock for debates be where you had limited time and had to
God,
cede
that's
your
so
time
annoying.
for the other
I could
person
never
to be
have a stream
unmuted.
where that happens.
I think that's what we.
That's so
Yeah.
annoying that you're in the middle
Throw
of
me off,
talking
but
and then some robot
excuse
voice
me.
starts and you're like,
Anyways, now on July 28th, as you can see, I'm providing receipts with time codes. The response from Lauren Southern: everything seems to be going great. Time, date, orator, all that kind of stuff. But my debate partner will have to decline if Lance insists on it being 2v1. Optically horrible, gives too much wiggle room for bullshit. Let us know if he changes his mind. So again, open up the next one. This one is
all right,
July
I'm gonna bring
29th,
this
3 or
indigenous
4
guy that's
p.m.
gonna suck at this.
Send him
See
this.
you then.
Okay, so the response to that is, so everything is good to go, except Lance is kind of uneasy with the 2v2 thing. Personally, I'm not sure why. How would a 2v2 work with the Oxford format? If you have a YouTube video of a similar style you're hoping to replicate,
do it in the
that would be
same
great
way,
as I
just
could
take
just show him
turns.
that. Based on that, I would like to know about debates. I
turns and
assume the
fours
intros
instead
is
of
if
twos.
the topic is brought up, rather than just one person having to answer the question or any of the partner, and then the partner can interject for their own partner and if they see them struggling. Tell me something, can I take that back? Will it convince him, as I know he's not willing to do that? Will you still do a 1v1, or are you? The response to that on July 30th because all the dates are being kept in track here. You can send Lance this. I'm bringing in a second because your
keeps
takes on the
repeating
church
that
burnings
too,
are pretty
right?
gross to me.
Seems kinda
Counterpoints is my
fishy to
second,
me.
and I want a 2v2
I don't
debate
even know what
format,
to call it.
so we don't just start yelling at you, and maybe we can diffuse the tension between multiple participants. Our primary contention is going to be along retributive and vigilante justice and historical wrongs. If you want to forward past wrongs to indigenous people, you might not want to have much contention, but if you want to talk about a modern genocide, we can debate that. Okay? So there,
Yeah, see, modern
we
genocide.
have the
That was
timeline.
interesting. They didn't even
Me,
get to
I
that
hope
part
everyone can
No.
agree, establishing
because they
that I
kept
did
talking
not
about
want it to
genocide of the
be
past, which they
a,
conceded in their opening statements,
2v2.
and they still
I wanted
argued
to
about
be
it
a
for some reason.
1v1.
Yeah,
I
keep
was willing
need
to
them
accept a
to repeat
2v1,
Because these
at
guys
which
didn't
point
understand
they
the
then
concept
said
that
yes,
they
they would
conceded
decline,
to the genocide of the
aka
past. In their
not
opening
have the
statements.
debate. Now, something
And
else
the
that is
terrible
being
things happened at residential schools.
accused of me is my tokenization.
My
So we got some more
tokenization.
receipts. Destiny.
Oh my
The
god.
Rabbits guy will be back in about a month, talking about how he received multiple death threats, but it's not going to let evil people keep him down. He will be welcomed back as a hero for overcoming so much adversity.
That's his prediction
Multiple
about that.
replies were in this
That
vein.
dude
I don't
has
think
shut
it's
down
okay
his
to dunk
YouTube
on the guy who
channel
was
and
obviously
fucking
only brought in
privated
by
his
Lance
Twitter.
for the token credit. Don't be mad at the
Destiny's
knife.
on the
Be
subject.
mad at the guy who brought it to a gunfight.
Oh, they said he brought him for
There's many more in this vein.
Token
I'm not going to pull up all 20 emails saying Lance just decided to bring in an indigenous person to the debate because Lance wanted a token in
That
the
bothered
debate,
him.
as is the style at the time. And it's the only way Lance thought he would have an advantage in debating Lauren Southern
Oh,
on this
boy.
topic. When I will now submit to you, the jury, that was one of Lauren Southern's demands. Enhance.
It really
Also,
wasn't a demand.
if
one.
you're going to
Oh
see
my God.
she meant 3. If you're going to say tree white people, one of whom is American, shouldn't be debating indigenous issues, then please find an indigenous person as a second, because that will
See,
be
now you realize that wasn't a demand, right? That was only a demand if he was going to say that 3 white people, one of whom is American, shouldn't be debating indigenous issues.
Yeah.
So is this Lance admitting that he would say that? You know, and he would blame the debate going wrong? Because her point was, you're going to say, you know, you were disadvantaged because of this or that, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, are you going to say that 3 white people on here shouldn't be having this argument anyways? Then, you know, you then bring someone
It's just
indigenous,
discredit
you know.
them.
But if not,
Yeah.
then fine, let's just do it then.
time. And it's the only
It
way
doesn't
Lance
even
thought
get
he would
that.
have an advantage in debating Lauren Southern on this topic. When I will now submit to you, the jury, that was one of Lauren
How did he
Southern's
not catch
demands.
that, though? He reads it. He even
Enhance.
reads the first part of it.
Also, if you're
Oh,
going to
fuck.
see she meant 3. If you're going to say tree white people, one of whom is American, shouldn't be debating indigenous
Yeah, if you're
issues,
gonna say
then
you're gonna say that,
please
that's
find
what
an
you're saying.
indigenous person
That's
as
why
a
it's within
second,
there.
because that will be super fucking annoying day if you decide to bitch about this when you had an opportunity to get a second of your choice.
Mm-hmm.
Fun. I'm also going to throw it out there because I don't know
So
if
she
this
didn't
is still
demand it. She
unknown in
demanded
the
it if
circles
you
of
were
the
gonna do
internet.
that. So that
My
you're
mom's
admitting you were gonna
indigenous.
do that.
She's Métis.
My mom's indigenous.
I'm indigenous.
That's what I'm gonna
I-
say about this. Métis means mixed, indigenous, and European. So, and if his mom's that's been going on for like 100 years. So if you put a few generations back, his mom's no way gonna be, at the most she can be 50% indigenous, but she's definitely not. You know, like she's most likely not 50% indigenous. She's probably a really small number. And then that's just his mom. His father's not indigenous, so then he's like gotta be like 4% indigenous or something, you know.
Yeah.
Like such a small amount that it's incredible to be flexing that. It's like I have some African in me, but you don't see me go around and say I'm African. You know what I'm saying? Like, and go and look, my this little card here says I'm, you know, part African. So
I would have been tokenizing myself in this case. Like, I don't want to dox myself too much here. Let's see if I can cover most of it. I have a little race card. This is a
my little
status
race card is that
from the BC Métis Federation. Like I have.
How funny
I have
is that he
legal
went to
indigenous
get a
status
card to
in
say
the
he's
province
got a
of British
legal
Columbia.
indigenous status?
They've done a geological tracking of my family history.
Right, and they saw one
I had a
ancestor
family member
of
who
yours
worked
was
Louis
indigenous.
Riel's army.
Probably like 6
Don't
or 7 generations
quite
ago.
understand. But anyway, sure. Tale of Twin Rabbits wasn't the only person I
can't
asked to be on this
understand the
debate.
points you're making without you streaming making fries, gravy, and cheese curd delicacies to put in
This
context.
guy's as indigenous as Elizabeth Warren is.
That wasn't the only person that I had brought forward to potentially debate. I also reached out to Ben Burgess. Ben Burgess is not indigenous. I reached out to a couple other people saying, hey, by the way, I've got this upcoming debate with Lauren Southern. Would you be interested in it? Twin was one of the first people to get back to me, so I went with Twin. It was not because Twin
That's a
happened to be
bad
indigenous
choice,
and it
regardless.
filled Lauren Southern's quota. Had nothing to do with that. But again, yes. Now,
But it's funny because that dude really sucked, right? Like, so if he didn't bring him on because he's indigenous, like, you brought him on for what? Like, he thought he was good at debating or something? Did he see, like, videos of him debating someone before to know that he was good at debating? Like, what? Oh, shit. I didn't even notice, but Chris jumped out. I guess she got disconnected. Gotta wait for her to come back. Let's see. Watch a little more. No, let me message her real quick. No, we'll continue for now.
you said you don't reveal emails or communications unless the people themselves are the ones revealing emails or communications. You would be correct. That is because the
Oh my God, he
people
goes into
involved
this
in the
now, too.
story have already
I might
revealed
skip this.
emails and communications. So let me just go to the first part. Is it
We get it. They
directly?
were showing.
I'm
And then
not sure.
Destiny showed
I can't say either way,
a message
but
from
this was
Lauren.
the first time that I saw the emails leaked. At which point, yes,
Nobody's even
it's
complaining
over
about
in
this. They're
terms
not
of us
complaining
keeping
that
privacy. I now
showing
have
emails
full
from-
permission from the third party to show all the emails.
So it doesn't even
that
matter
have
now.
been leaked
The only people that
and
were
to
bitching
demonstrate
was
that,
some
no, I
people
was
from
not
his
looking
audience, probably.
for a 2v2.
But nobody from, like,
so that I
Lauren
could
Southern or
grab,
Destiny were bitching
my
about it.
tokenized indigenous
really no reason
debate
for him to
partner
go through all
in order
this.
to get the better
He's just
of both of
paranoid
these
about it.
people. Now, does that absolve any of this or absolve me of what took place that day? Fuck no. Fuck no.
Absolve it.
I was told by a lot of people online, and a lot of people
What?
whom I deeply, deeply respect, okay? I'm talking about content creators who I've had nothing but good relationships with, and I hope to continue to have good relationships with, that this was a bad idea, that this was a big mistake, okay? I'm not going to name names.
So no, but it's probably a big mistake in a different way, where they were telling you, "You're platforming Lauren Southern." Ugh.
I'm not here to be like, and then they shot, and then they shot, and then First Blood, Rambo Part 5. No. I was taking it all in, okay? I was listening to it all. This was not a matter of Lance's ego running away from him. Can I be the one? Could I be the first one to...
He literally, he shows it himself. He literally tweeted out at one point that he did this for the sole purpose of telling Lauren Southern that she's a fascist to her face, basically, and saying that she hasn't changed or rebranded herself as he's saying she's claiming, which she isn't claiming at all, ever. And, yeah, so it's pretty funny that he keeps talking like this.
to ever take down Lauren Southern? Could it be me?
And especially since he already tweeted out why he did this, like, and now he's talking as if, oh, let me explain why I did this and giving a different story.
Who has the power to call her a fash to her face, as I said in a tweet to Kamazots in that one Twitter thread. She's been taken down many, many times already. She got taken down by Destiny. She got taken down by
but you know
Destiny so
Destiny,
badly
bro.
like 3 years ago that right after that it actually pivoted a whole bunch of kids away from the alt-right. Have you
I
ever
don't know
listened to
about this
Faraday
that much.
Speaks? When Faraday Speaks talks about his transfer from the... Even Xanderhall, who I know Xanderhall's really mad at me right now, but in both
I
their
don't
cases, how they
remember-
were like, how did I leave?
Does anybody remember this? Because I don't really remember that. I kind of have a faint memory of it, but I don't remember it being such a memorable event that a bunch of people shifted to political positions because of Destiny and the Lauren Southern debate. Like, I don't recall that. But I'm sure, depending on how you view it, I'm sure they both went well, but that's kind of the point. Is what these people with the debate me bro kind of culture things don't understand, that is that like debates are for the purpose of you refining your ideas. Like even if Lauren Southern lost, if she's good at debate, she would have used that to refine her arguments, and then her next time would be better, right? Like, oh, you're back. There you are.
I'm back.
Oh, good.
Sorry, I crashed.
It's okay. All you missed was a part where he was talking about, I'm doxing emails. But he's not, because nobody even complained about it, so there's no reason for him to be like, oh, well, they did it first.
The alt-right pipeline, it's usually because the Destiny just wrecked Lauren Southern.
Oh, are you back in the thing to watch this too? Yeah, right? You can see.
Yep, I hopped back in.
So badly that ever since then they've just kind of been. So yeah, no, I wasn't like, well, I will be the one to achieve this. In many correspondence that I had made, and when I tried to justify it to people who are close friends, people who I love and adore, and who I'm sure still like me, my response was typically, I don't often get a chance to talk about Indigenous issues on a large stage. I don't know.
He's changing his thing now. Maybe it's a larger story, but it's funny how he didn't start with what he already tweeted and said that he did this because he wanted to call Lauren Southern a fashion to her face. Like we all seen that tweet. He shows it at one point in this video. He shows that tweet.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, where he said, he's like, where he said, I didn't go there to have a good time. I went there to call Lauren Southern a fascist to her face, you know? So it's like, that if that's what you went there for, just say that. But now he's like, I don't get a chance to talk about Indigenous issues, so I'm going to do it for that.
Often get a chance.
But then you did a terrible job at it because you couldn't even argue what the argument was, you know, and make a good argument for any of it.
By the way, I have receipts on this as well.
It just looked terrible.
That one tweet that you're using to now accuse me
of
apparently doing this whole thing for the clicks and the lulls. And
we're doing it 'cause he wants to call
look
her
at all this
fascist.
algorithm, baby. More people watching the channel. Yeah. At the expense of cultural genocide.
God, he's so bad. What is that?
Oh my God.
It's so bad. Oh
my response time and time again was,
but this is the problem with these super lefty people, is the whole Mott and Bailey thing, and then he gets caught. He doesn't even understand how to Mott and Bailey. He doesn't know how to even perform that fallacy, but he tries it. But it's like, you say something super extreme, and then when somebody pushes back on it, you come back with a simpler argument that's not as extreme. But that's what he does. So they're calling it mass graves, the thing with, it's the ongoing genocide, and he keeps saying really exaggerated things. But he doesn't want to admit that that's what's happening. So when people call him out on it, it gets really bad, and he has to kind of hold his ground and keep going forward with the same bullshit.
This is not a topic I get to talk about on a large stage. I can bring on a lot of like my Indigenous friends. I can bring on Lost S. I can bring on Tale of Two and Rabbits. I can bring on a whole bunch of different people. I can bring on Conquest of Bread. We can all have a great old sit down. You can bring them on, but it's going to be terrible. And we can talk about these issues. And I'll probably have, a couple hundred people watching who are the lovely people who will watch me no matter what I'm doing because they like me and my content.
I just realized the likes.
This is going to be able to expose it to a whole bunch of counterpoints viewers, thousands of viewers. It's not me platforming her; it's her platforming me. And yes, these are not the kind of people who I'm looking to just shave off. Typically, for me, it's people on the outside, people who are just there for the spectacle, people who are going to watch it and be like, I did not know about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. I did not know about the missing and murdered women's report,
but you barely talked about those things.
Hold on.
And those weren't part of the argument either.
I didn't know that it was just ground penetrating radar that was used to detect what they had detected. I thought ground was broken. I thought graves were down until this was this happened here. So
no, they're estimating by the number of missing people, and I think it was even the natives in that area had already known that was there and said that was actually an unmarked grave.
Yeah.
That it was like an old Indian burial ground that was unmarked. But they're like graves. They're not a mass grave. They're like separate graves. Mm-hmm. This is the part where later on when he goes over that, that's the part he messes up. He starts showing how ground penetrating radar works for general graves, but not mass graves. Tries to
action
conflate the
that
two.
stipulate that if these are not fulfilled, then these processes are still ongoing. And there is a lot that I have to be held accountable for, because at the end of the day, they are correct.
You suck.
This was irresponsible. This was irresponsible in the way that it performed. This was irresponsible in the way that it played out. We had devised a strategy because both of us prepared.
Oh, we had devised a strategy. And remember, there's a girl who made a video. I saw Destiny watching it that says, and it's funny because I kind of called this, at least for the end of the debate. If you remember when we streamed with Sean about this, I said that I think Dylan Burns and him had set up that last part, because it seems like Dylan Burns let the closing statements started, and he goes, Connor went, and then Lauren went, and then Twin Rabbits went, and then he took Dylan Burns, not only put Lance last, but he took a second right before Lance to make a statement about a stream he was going to do with someone else and say, oh, that was moved to next week and blah, blah, like he putting his stuff out there that he closes on first. And then he let Lance go. And then after that, he's like, oh, if you guys are going to go, debate, I'm going to get out of here. I don't want. So it's like, I think they set that up and he optically didn't want to have anything to do with it. But that girl in the Destiny video went a little further and said that she thinks Dylan Burns coached Lance on it. And it kind of makes sense. Yeah, because a lot of the question, and if you remember when Dylan Burns went to talk to Destiny after the debate, he was defending a lot of those arguments that Lance made. He kept bringing them up. And he was like, oh, but you said blah, blah. And he's like, yeah. And then Destiny argues with him about that a little bit, So it kind of sounds like that might be true. But Lance wasn't good enough to argue those arguments. And he was getting dunked on him, and then Destiny dunks on those arguments too until Burns brings it up to him. So it's like, yeah, those arguments weren't that good.
Just made it look really silly.
An incredibly large amount for this. I can release, I'll put it in the YouTube video of this, a document of all the sources that I was trying to pull to get actual statistical data in order to try and form an argument, which is a very hard one to have in the modern era. How can you have a country whose own prime minister is involved in overseeing what happens, especially between the federal government and trying to find a unison between the provincial government, and also attests to the fact that not only did a cultural genocide occur in this country, but that there are processes embedded into the very laws of this country that are still ongoing. That's a very hard task on my part. And I'm not saying that to absolve myself. I'm saying that because that was the goal that I wanted to go forward. That was the challenge.
You didn't even argue that, though.
This is what I want to
He
set
never
up for
argued
myself.
how it's
And
still
according
going.
to many people,
They never got to that.
That was a failure. And so fine.
Yeah,
if
it
that
was
is
a failure. You
I'm
never
going to
got
stand.
to-
I'm going to
you
stand
should've.
here, and I'm
You
going
said
to
that
own
was the
it.
goal of it.
The idea was going to be this:
Dumbass.
Taylor was going to tackle the Catholic Church burnings, the mass graves. That
was
side of
terrible
the
at it.
aspect. I was going to tackle
Failed
child
terribly.
welfare, the
Like,
Indigenous
10
residential
minutes
school
worth of
system, the
dialogue.
missing and murdered Indigenous women's report.
But that wasn't
and then
part
we
of the
were going to
argument,
kind of
Lance. You went to
cross-collaborate where we
tackle.
could.
Tangle
We
things that weren't
lost
part of
the
the argument.
initial
You didn't put it in.
discussion very early on. For the first, I'd say 30 minutes, because of the strategy that Lauren Southern was employing.
What? That's why you
involving
lost.
Judy.
Her strategy was the reason she won, not because she was correct in what she was saying. What?
Technology. So I'll give a quick
There we go.
recap of that.
But today we have framed
This
this
is
debate as
great.
a discussion, obviously, around retributive and vigilante justice, and whether or not Canada is guilty of genocide. But what we are debating in reality here is acts of political terrorism, the committing of hate crimes, the burning down of religious sites, including the recent burning down of refugee churches, and those who are hell-bent on making excuses for this behavior, all based on the recent discovery of mass graves of Indigenous children, which activists have portrayed as evidence of genocidal actions by the Canadian government with recovered up. The only problem with this entire debate is, firstly, even if this happened and the Canadian government committed genocide, there would be no excuse to commit hate crimes today, especially against people who had no connection to said actions. And an equally important and shocking revelation should be is that no mass graves were found in the first place. This is an entirely false narrative. No one here today is going to deny historical injustices happened. No one is going to deny there were deliberately children taken from their homes and educated to no longer have their culture and language, and that is horrific. I don't think that should happen to anybody. However, distorting the past, exaggerating atrocities, inventing the existence of mass graves to make it appear as though Canada committed and covered up some sort of Holocaust is a horrific mishandling of the truth, and it does nothing to help us uncover.
That's the part where I'm saying the exaggeration. Lance puts out an exaggerated statement. I remember the stuff he was tweeting. He was tweeting out something like 621 children were raped and tortured and murdered and blah blah. And it's like, dude, you don't know that just because they found an anomaly under the ground that they think is a mass grave. That's what that means now. Like, you're being exaggerated.
And heal from genuine wrongdoings which occurred. And in fact, it has caused more trauma today for Canadians and Indigenous communities who are now seeing their communities destroyed, their churches burnt to the ground, and relations ripped apart even further.
So,
I mean, it's a good
this
argument.
should have been a very, very easy gotcha, because she went on to cite an article from the Globe and Mail talking about how one of the people who was using GPR technology stated emphatically that it cannot be used to find bodies.
That's not what.
And because
that's the straw man. That's not what she said. She didn't say it can't be used to find bodies. What she said was it doesn't detect bodies. You know, if you're looking for the bodies in the first place, that's how you know where to use the ground penetrating radar, right? Because you're not going to just radar the entire world. You look for spots and you're like, I think there's bodies here. This used to be a gravesite. Oh, let's check. And then you get an anomaly and say, dig there. There's an anomaly there. So then you can use that to find bodies if you know what you're looking for. But he doesn't get that concept, so he's like, "Oh, okay, they just said it can't be used to find bodies.
It cannot be used to find bodies." Then it's spurious for anyone to even assume that we found anyone by the use of this technology. And then
That they've never, she for sure, never said that you couldn't find bodies using this technology. In fact, it's been used for that a lot, and she says it's been used for that.
Yeah.
And she
But
says
you have
it's been
to
used to find where it's individual graves, like you know,
Yeah.
do it to like a cemetery, you're gonna find anomalies all over the place.
why are we even making such a big kind of deal out of it? This was the basis for about the first.
But what she's saying is you don't know what's in there. You don't know if it's bodies that were murdered or, you know, had some sort of disease, or maybe it was a regular cemetery, you know, that was just not unmarked graves is the one what they were arguing, that it might be unmarked graves and not a mass grave.
30 minutes of the conversation. And again, it's one of those things where looking back on it, I really, really should have pushed back on this harder, because it's just categorically false.
Pause that. Oh yeah, this is breaking down. Breaking down, kid.
New in terms of using it to exhume bodies. And in the case of, let's say, the men who ran the Florida School for Boys buried George Owen quickly without the dignity of a permanent headstone before his family could drive up from Auburndale.
Now, first off, this is in Florida, so this has nothing to do with finding the indigenous kids in these residential schools.
Story was that of a spry 14-year-old who crawled under a house nearby and died. His sister, Oval 12 at the time, never believed it. None of that rang true.
And also they have an idea of where this place is. They said this kid died under the house, right? So they have an idea of where they're going to use this radar to be like, let's find where if there is an anomaly under this ground where they said a kid was dead and died under.
So they use something called ground penetrating radar to map the cemetery.
To map the cemetery, so they know it's a cemetery already, right? Oh my god.
Earlier estimate of roughly
That's
50.
so funny.
Basically, the ground
And when he
penetrating
tries to
radar
prove
found
himself
those-
right, he proves himself wrong.
Yeah. But also this is mapping a cemetery, so it's not a mass grave already. So you can see that he's using it to show that they mapped a cemetery and not found a mass grave, to make the point that you could tell that it's a mass grave.
Between 24 or 31
So funny.
Bodies that would be found. When they exhumed the bodies, they found over 50. Now, here's the thing, and I didn't have this readily on hand, and it's that is my fault. That is something that
This wouldn't have done anything, Lance. They would have been like, no, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is, if it's a mass grave, you're just going to get one big anomaly. If it's a cemetery, you're going to get a bunch of little anomalies, right? Like everywhere. As you get, each casket comes back, you know, and each individual hole. But a mass grave is you dig a giant pit, throw a bunch of bodies into it, and dig it back, and, you know, and bury it and throw the dirt over it. There's bodies on top of bodies and shit, like, so you're just gonna get anomalies. You're not gonna know what it is. If it's a cemetery, you're gonna get ordered anomalies that says each person is buried in their own hole, right? So you're gonna get each one coming back.
shortcoming of what I had done or how I had performed in this debate is that I should have had this ready to go. And that is the Mohawk Institute. And the thing that...
But they don't get how it works. Like ground penetrating radar is like echolocation, right? Like it's like how radar works. You know, you don't, even on radar, you don't get what is there. You just have an anomaly in the sky, right? When you see the little blip in those little radar things, like bleep, bleep.
He thinks that he probably thinks that you see like an actual outline of a body.
Yeah,
like,
right.
like
Yeah,
perfectly like
exactly.
that.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
really fucking pisses me off about this is that I heard in my brain the Mohawk Institute go off, and I couldn't type and find the video footage in time. I was like, you'll see me typing furiously there. I'm trying to scramble to find the video footage where they had exhumed bodies from the Mohawk Institute that had been found using GPR technology.
Yeah, because they
that had
knew
been
where to look.
exhumed and then returned to their place of burial. So this
They
has
never
been done
denied that
before.
it's possible. Just
Yeah.
like
They never,
you
yeah,
have
she
to,
didn't
like,
deny
dig,
that's
like-
that's what it's been used for before, but she was saying they know where to look when they do that. And also that you can't really tell with mass grave if that's what it is. You know, like you could tell there's an anomaly there, but you can't tell what's actually in the anomaly.
So
to
simply
know that
cast
there's
the
that certain
idea
amount of
that,
bodies
well,
there, you know,
one
you
of
don't
the
know
people
that.
who's working on this has stated that at the end of the day,
That's why they're at one point they're saying, fine, then there's like 7 bodies in there, and then what? You know, like
this isn't exactly
Like, what does that
capable
mean?
of finding bodies. Technically, she's right. Technically, she's
No,
right.
she's
but
right.
what
Not
it can
technically, she
find
is right.
Is caskets.
Yeah, but you're not looking for caskets when you look in a mass grave, right? Who uses caskets for a mass grave? Does that make any sense? Ever in history of mass graves, do you know people who just put bodies in caskets and then threw it all in a big pit? Like, if you're gonna throw people in a big pit and not bury them separately, you just throw the bodies in. Who buries them? Or maybe in like wrap them in something, you know? But who would throw coffins and throw it all together on top of each
A
other
lot of
instead of individually?
time and effort.
Yeah, that makes no sense. I don't believe it.
What it can find and what it's very effective at finding is caskets. And what it's very
Yeah,
effective
but you know what that is? That's a cemetery, bro, or an unmarked grave, basically.
at
But it's a
finding
cemetery.
is differences in the motion and movement of the earth. And if I had just had that on the top of my head, I could have shut down all
Yeah,
of
that,
you
this
would've-
wouldn't have mattered.
And he thinks that would have been the winning one, and that would have shut her down, but it wouldn't have. That's not what she was saying. It just defeats a straw man of what he. This is the problem: is he doesn't know what the argument is. And it keeps happening, and every time he talks about it, you can tell.
of that genocide denying fucking bullshit on the spot.
Nobody denied genocide. Who denied? They actually conceded it in their opening statements.
On the fucking spot, but I didn't. And it's one of those things where, like, obviously now you'll go through it 1,000 times in your head and you're gonna be like, oh fuck, why didn't you think about that? Why didn't you bring up this fact? But it's one of those things where it's like it's just there. It's just like, and that's why when she showed the Globe and Mail article, I really wanted to be like, well, what you're doing here is you're trying to isolate a small part of this article and then extrapolate from it.
Oh,
that
thanks,
this
Steven.
is now a
Let's see what
universality.
he said. Steven sent me a.
Oh,
If he wanted to call Lauren a fascist, etc., why did he wait until the last few seconds of the stream so she would have no chance to respond? He made himself look like a coward and Lauren a victim. Yeah, and then now she said you could say it to my face, like he said he wanted to, and like in real life, like she was like, we're in the same city, we could come say it to my face in person. And he backed out of that. So.
That because this one person who is working in this field, who may or may not have contributed directly to the field of study, is saying that this cannot find bodies, therefore...
That's not what she said.
that's not what she said.
Therefore...
And Lauren
it must
even read the
mean
quote
she
of
said-
the lady, like...
She said if it's a mass grave, then you're just getting the anomaly of the mass grave. You're not seeing what's individually inside of the mass grave, you know. If it's going to be a bunch of separate bodies, like buried in their own holes, that's not a mass grave anymore. A mass grave is one giant hole, that's it.
There are no mass graves, or unmarked mass graves, or what even is...
Oh yeah, see, that's the problem. Is that was the problem that I said, is they never really agreed to what a mass grave was, or I feel like they did and then backpedaled on what the definition was. But it says it right there. Like he still doesn't even know what they were arguing. He repeats it, or this, or that.
Therefore, you know, therefore, it must mean that there are no mass graves or unmarked mass graves.
Is it
or
what is it?
Or like really,
You can't
isn't this
steal
all
them?
about, were they shooting kids in the back of the head and then bringing them into
That's-
the forest? Was
you
that
didn't
was,
argue that in
was
part
that what was
either.
happening? Right.
They argued that, and
And
you
so when it comes down
avoided
to
it.
it, yes, it's like
They were like, when you say mass graves, people think that you're like exterminating people, you know, and throwing them in a
Yeah.
pit after, you know, and exterminating a whole bunch of children and throwing them into a pit. But that's not what's going on. Or at least that's what they're saying. That's not what's going on. There's no evidence of that.
I don't even want to say it's a shady debate tactic. It was an effective debate tactic, and one
It was
that,
just being
again,
truthful.
is,
It's just
is one
talking
of like
facts.
the kicks. The kicks I wish I would have just pushed against myself
Well,
afterwards.
you can meet her in person and do that, but
Yeah.
he doesn't want to.
And
Should
again, yes,
meet her in
it's
person
one of
and
those,
show her
it's one
that.
of those regrets.
So she could tell you that's not what
That
she
was one of the
arguing.
big things in the earlier part. I know Tail Twin Rabbits spoke about like incense burning and
Incense
cathedrals
burning.
down. And a lot of people genuinely like. I got
That was
so
funny,
many people
man.
kept adding me and so many
Something
people
about
being like,
oils and
Lance,
candles.
why did you pick this person? Lance, why would you have done this? Like, Lance, is just you tokenizing indigenous people to try and
you
win
brought it up again.
cheap points or try and score
That's
cheap
something
points?
that really bothers
And
me.
honestly, fuck all of you. Genuinely.
fuck
if
all
you
of
think
you.
that I'm just genuinely
Oh
trying
my
to, I
God.
chose Twin Rabbit specifically because he's very educated on these topics. He's an
Yeah,
incredible
okay.
orator, and honestly, this isn't an Oxford debate.
This isn't
This
an
is
Oxford.
trash.
Wait a
And
second.
I'm used to trash.
Wait.
Why would you even
Maybe
want
once
an
again,
Oxford
this is something
debate?
that should
Oh
fall
my
on
God.
me for why.
But if it's trash, then say it's trash. I bet you keep backpedaling on it being trash. You know what I'm saying? Like, he said that too. Like, I only went on there for this, but then now he's, oh, well, you know, I went on there because I wanted to talk about this and indigenous stuff. And it's like, oh my God, bro. But, you know, pick
But
something.
but then he wants an Oxford debate, and then he doesn't even
Yeah.
he backpedals.
And then he
on
doesn't
it.
even act properly like an Oxford debate in history.
should I bring other people into the trash? If you look at the article, Murder by Decree, Mass Graves of Children in Canada Documented by Evidence, this one gets a little bit more into GPR technology. The project usually involves...
Yeah, but what it is they find anomalies and they're saying it's mass graves. But we don't know. They could be individual cemetery, basically. Which some have some of the indigenous people have admitted to that and said that, oh no, that's you know, a cemetery we used back in the day.
Commencing with ground penetrating radar surveys on the ground, it then combines by referencing both the soil disruptions and abnormalities. It then conducts conversations with people on the ground and what they suspect to find in those areas.
And what they
again,
suspect to
GPR
find.
technology-
So it's basically going by hearsay. It's what they say. In the
Yeah.
thing. Like they point to a place and say, oh yeah, a bunch of kids were buried there. And then they do the ground penetrating radar. They get an anomaly back and they go, oh yeah, there's probably a bunch of kids there. But they don't always dig it out to check. You know?
Yes, well, it cannot be found to exhume bodies because bodies can decay.
But I'm sure
and become
sometimes
part of
they
dirt
do.
Itself. It can be very effective.
I'm not even
at
doubting it.
finding
There could be mass graves,
caskets
but
or other
I'm just
items
saying,
that are
like,
used
you
to
know,
wrap
have the
children
evidence and
there.
then argue that. Well,
And it has been
show
used
it.
to both find, locate bodies, and then exhume bodies in the past.
But that's
So
not
all
to
of
say.
what you-
But I think the issue here is what the see. I didn't agree with Lauren and Connor on this, but they were saying when you hear mass graves, you think people lined up and being executed and thrown into these pits. But to me, when I hear mass grave, I just think of the general big hole that you throw a bunch of bodies in. They could have died for any reason. It could have been like a plague or, you know, like just whatever. It doesn't have to have sinister connotations to it. It's just not wanting to make individual graves for everyone. You know, there's too many bodies. You don't want to go through all that work, so you just make a big ass pit and throw it all in there. So I don't hear negative connotation, but that was their argument, and these guys never argued against that, which is like, that's why I was saying they never even got down what the definition was. Like if they wanted to argue against that, it could be like, no, I'm not saying mass graves in that way. I'm saying it in the way that it's just a big pit of bodies. Like, you know, that's what they should have done. But they never argued back on that, which makes you think that is what they're saying. Then they are saying that people were executed and thrown in there to hide the bodies of people they executed. You know,
saying is falsifiable. All of it. So yeah.
say, look, these are individual dips. These are not.
Graves, yeah.
Yeah, this is why you could do ground penetrating radar and you get all these little anomalies as opposed to one big one. Oh man, I really gotta go to the bathroom. Hold on, I'll be back in 1 second.
Oh no. Okay. Mhm. Oh, I can talk about my day. I almost had to stay overnight at the mall, and I was kind of scared about that, but I didn't have to. So that's not really a story, but I was really concerned about that for a second. And I would have been getting out at 12 a.m. instead of around an earlier time. This is such a dork. How was everybody else's day? It's not really a story. I know. I tell bad stories. I don't know how to manage it by myself. This is not for me. I don't know what else to talk about. Oh, thank God you're back.
Okay. All right, but yeah, how funny is this, right? That's a cemetery. Like that's not a mass grave. It's definitely not a mass grave.
Yes, in that
It's
case,
just like an
shame
unmarked
on me.
cemetery.
The stakes were high. I rolled the dice, and shame on me. The other thing that I found a little strange
So that's
was
actually
finding out
not
behind
what
the
she was
scenes
talking
that
about.
Destiny was the one who had been coaching Lauren Southern.
This is another thing he exaggerates too. He's now saying Destiny coached Lauren Southern, which I think is a projection because I think he was coached by Dylan Burns. So he's trying to place it on his opponent as well. Like, oh, well, she was coached by Destiny, but that's not what happens. And he shows you the proof where he was like, I didn't know this, but this is where I found out that he coached her. And he says, and it shows a clip, and it's not like proof
all
of
of
any.
this.
Their communities
It's up.
destroyed,
It's totally
their
different from what he
churches
says.
burnt to the ground,
Yeah.
and relations ripped apart even further.
Whoa. So I'm gonna try to I'll give rhetorical advice and then factual advice. So I've talked with her quite a bit about this upcoming debate. So I've researched a lot of this in
I
the background. You've seen
talked
me
to
talking about this in chat.
He
I
didn't
think that
say
when
he
she says there have been
coached
no
her.
mass graves found, you need to qualify what you mean by mass graves because there have
Yeah, see, that's
obviously
what I was
been
saying.
mass
Nathan.
graves found.
Good point.
But I think that
Their communities destroyed, their churches burnt to the ground, and
Now that was weird.
Oh, she wasn't
So I
saying
started
they've never
watching
found mass graves. Though. I
Destiny's
guess Destiny was kind of
review
wrong on that too.
of the entire thing.
Yeah.
And I'll just say this. We got two very different sets of standards in terms of how we were both being called out between me and Destiny. And this is the thing. I get it.
No, you don't.
Destiny doesn't like me. I don't know if he doesn't like me specifically more than anyone else. I'm sure everyone. I know there's that
cares
meme
who
where
likes
Mike's like, "I
anybody
am the
more?"
most hated. I hate him the most,
So
or I'm
stupid.
hated." To be honest, I have grown ambivalent. All right, at this point,
I don't care
Mike,
anymore.
you can have it. You are the king. MLK from PA. You hate Destiny more than anyone else on the internet. It's yours. I'm now of the mind where I'm just I think I'm just gonna walk away from all this because it's becoming less and less productive.
Why would it be
But in
productive
terms
in the
of
first place?
the results, which I assume if we're going to be omni-liberal,
You guys
you're
don't
going
like
to
that he
review
just reviews
what I
your
say
arguments and
versus what Lauren
destroys
Southern
it, and when
says,
you
right?
act like weasels, he calls it out.
This is the
Says,
kind of
"Oh, he's
characterizations
weaseling
that
out
come
of
out
this."
my way.
They don't like that.
He's not just going to
He
blindly
was a
defend
person who
someone
had
like Lance.
superiority of the Aryan race.
get
He
mad.
said it
They get
frequently.
mad about it.
He in Parliament would say things that were considered to be outlandish and racist by the sign of the times.
hold on, I'm actually super curious. I
Racist and outlandish by the sign of the times. That's, I think, in 1868. I think is when Canada formed. It was I think that those times were very racist. I think it was normal, total normal thing at that time. But also, who cares what some dude's views were in 1868? Who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Why would anybody care about that?
I truly don't know this. When was the term Aryan? When was that invented? And
Yeah,
when was
yeah, Destiny was wrong on this, but he's not really wrong about it. He's questioning it, and he's trying to show this is how different it is, how he's analyzing my debate and hers, right?
Canada founded?
Yeah.
Were they really using that phrase back then? Aryan? Is it? It might be.
But
I
he
don't,
didn't know, but Aryan was popularized by Hitler, adopted that term and was popularized with that stuff in World War II. So he's probably thinking it came around in World War II, but that was adopted. It was in use. Had faded out of use at that point, but it was in use since like the 1600s or something.
I don't know how dated that phrase is. I'm curious about that.
Now, like,
but yeah, he probably used that.
His criticism of Lawrence Southern would often be along the lines of like, "Oh, I don't think a rhetoric."
But who
is very
cares?
strong
It's
here.
1860
I think
something.
she's gonna
Like, it's,
perform better.
people don't recognize, like, put yourself in the time period. Like 1860 something is like cowboy times. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit was fucked up. People were shooting each other in bars and shit, and it was all right. And go back to drinking and shit. Like, shit wasn't so fucking unsavage as it
I
is
think
now.
she could have said something better there. But
Civilized.
for me, it's just straight out like, well, did Canadians even have the term Aryan back then? Well, okay, allow me to read you a direct quote.
You didn't need to do
This
all
is a
that.
quote
He
from
even
Sir John A. Macdonald.
he doesn't keep it playing too, because I watched this and I was like thinking myself too, like, Dusty doesn't know this, like that word's been around a long time. But then, but if you keep the clip going, he doesn't even show it. You can keep the clip going. If you keep the clip going, he says, like, his audience tells him, and he looks it up and goes, "Oh no, I'm wrong. Yeah, it was around for a long time."
He
So
claims that
but you know, Lance is going through the trouble of like, I'm gonna look it up and prove it to him right now while I have it paused. You know, not let him do it. You know, like if he's one-upping him and beating him at something.
Chinese and Europeans were separate species. The Aryan race will not so wholesomely amalgamate with Africans or Asiatics, and that the cross of those races, like the cross of the dog and the
Yeah, it was the 1800s, bro. Shit was rough.
fox, is not successful.
People didn't think they could mix it. That's probably a common view at the time. Like,
It cannot be, and never will be. Chinese exclusion was necessary, he told the House. This is all a member of the House of Commons, by the way. The Aryan Charter is the future of British America.
yeah, it was the 1860s, bro. There was a major culture clash. Can you imagine, like, the China of the 1860s meeting with Northern Canada, which barely was even a country yet, you know? Like,
Or
it's
it should be
two
destroyed.
completely different cultures.
So again, yes, he was
sure there was a
white
lot of culture
supremacist.
clash going
He
on.
believed in the superiority of the Aryan race.
That was handled in harsh
Thing.
ways, you know?
So it's a big old
I'm
thing.
sure. You gotta let that
Anyways,
go.
as we go further down the rabbit hole, the two of them both kind of went on a tear. Lauren Southern, Destiny, tweeting out. Lauren Southern post-debate. I'm sure you all have seen the meme. And maybe this is the other thing that I have to be held accountable for. At the end of the debate, okay? I was contemplating to myself for a while.
Yeah.
I did want to bring up something to the effect that I think that Lauren Southern has been on this kind of rebranding tour and has been doing it for some time. And that is honestly, because I know Xanderhall is really pissed off at me right now for the way that I went at him, and now he's going at me. And perhaps some of it is completely justified. I'm not even saying, you know, how dare you, Xanderhall.
He's calling
I'm saying
him out.
this.
He's calling him out because when Xanderhall debated Lauren Southern, he did a thing saying like, "Oh, you're platforming a fascist," blah blah blah. So now it's coming back to him, you know, and he's doing it. I don't know if I'm recalling this correctly, so don't quote me on this, but I feel like he was one of the people who was saying to Vosh the first time he went on Tim Pool that he was platforming Tim Pool. I'm bitching about that. And then I think I remember Vosh making a video about it, talking about it, where he said that he wasn't platforming that, he was going on Tim Pool. So it was more like Tim Pool was platforming him, you know? And then, so Lance does the same argument here, because I think I remember him tweeting something about that after that, like agreeing with Vosh now about that, like after he was saying something to him. But he uses the same thing here, and it's like, oh god, he just stole fucking Vosh's talking point
The
about
end of the Xanderhall debate.
his excuse for going
ended
on
with
channels
them
of
doing this
people's
kind
that
of buddy.
he thinks are fascists.
Can I get you to say trans rights? And she's like, can I get you to say white rights? They both do it. It's haha lol. Where can people find your book? They can find my book here. That to me was the worst part of it. I wasn't even so upset, to be honest,
about
throughout
him
the
being
course of the
buddy-buddy
debate
with her and
with
laughing.
Lauren Southern kind of gish galloping or trying to change and pivot or goalposts around him the whole time. It was that ending that really left a sour taste in my mouth, because
do that to
I
you
don't
this
want
time.
that to keep happening.
You were the one doing
I
it.
don't want Lauren Southern to be doing
Was she doing
this
that, though?
rebranding.
I didn't see her
Whatever
debate with
it is she's
Xanderhall, so
doing.
I don't know.
That's
Oh.
She
that,
handled
that's
that
been
one,
one
but
of
I
the
doubt
things
it's the
is
way
that
he's
people seem
saying
to
it.
be forgetting
Doubt it.
most
Lauren's
of
a
her
smart
most,
girl. I may not be a fan of
past.
it, but she's smart.
And now it's
she's
all
not a
kind of
dumb
like, well, I
chick
write
either.
children's
She knows
books
what she's
now,
doing.
and I'm a centrist.
And when she
I
goes
don't
into
talk about
debate, she
things
knows what
from
she's
those
talking about
extremes.
before she goes
I don't
into it.
talk about the alt-right anymore. I don't involve myself with Brittany Pettibone or Faith Goldie. That's relics of an old me. I'm new and I'm
She didn't say she didn't, though.
So I was
she
like,
never
what do I
said
do?
she didn't associate
Do I
with
bring
those
it up
people.
at the
I don't
very
think so, at
start?
least.
Do I poison the well at the very start of the debate? Just say,
She's just
hey,
a
by the
mom
way,
now.
Lauren Southern, I feel like you want to do kind of a
That's the only thing
rebranding
that's
tour,
changed.
but at the same time, I think it's
rebranding tour.
disingenuous because you have again been touring around with Stefan Molyneux. You were spreading the Great Replacement conspiracy theory. The Great Replacement
Was she spreading the Great Replacement conspiracy? I don't know. No.
conspiracy theory was one of the things that was named by the Christchurch shooter. Not you yourself directly was not named by him, but I'm just saying that was part of the things that he said. He contributed money
I
financially
think Candace Owens was.
to Rebel News that you were working for at the time. Things like that. Do I say that all out at the gate? Or does
Yeah,
that
but just because he was working for them at the time, what does that mean? I don't think she
poison
was.
the wells
Actually. I
towards
think
the
she was
entire
out of there
debate?
by
Does
that.
that then make it look like, well, Lance can't even talk about the issues? He's called to debate Indigenous issues. He says that he knows a lot about this. He claims to be half Indigenous, and yet he's not even willing
But
to
he
talk
didn't.
about that. He's just there to call names and flame
All of
people.
that is true.
So
you didn't
the
know
whole
shit.
thing was nearly over.
And
I
you
was
just went there to
personally
call her a fashion her face. That's exactly what you said. That she didn't say that. You said that.
very happy with how the second half went. Can go down that road a little bit. Can talk about that. But I was very happy with how the second half went. And we're all doing our closing statements. Yes.
The
In my
second half
hubris,
didn't go
I was
any
like,
better
I
than the
wonder,
first half.
because she said she's going to keep talking counterpoints. If I can keep this train going, okay. I wanna have this one-on-one that I've been asking for since the start. I wanna do this one-on-one. Counterpoints can even be there. I know Dylan Burns has to go, but can I goat Lauren Southern into
Goat. He just said, "Can I goat her?
Wow.
Can I goat Lauren Southern into a 1v1?" All right. First off, doofus. The word is goad,
Not goat.
not goat. She's not a goat. The word is goad. But also, why does he make the demand? He just said it right now. He's trying to goad her into a 1v1. Like, why would you want to do that? Usually when you use that term, it's because you want to trick somebody into something, right? Like you're leading a sheep into like the lion's den or something, you know? Why would he use that terminology unless that's the point? He wants to trick her into a 1v1. And she's not falling for it. She's saying, all right, you want that, but now you got to give me something in return so we can have an equal footing on this. He's trying to pull a power play. I want this, I asked for this, and I want this. And that's it. You know what I'm saying? As she says, all right, let's do the 1v1, but let's get Destiny to moderate it. He doesn't want that. You know, so then she's like, all right, then let's meet in person and do it. He doesn't want that, you know? And then he's saying that she's the one kind of like ass backwards dodging it, you know?
just continuing this, and can we finally just throw all the cards on the table? Okay, I don't have an inordinate amount of research on hand, but I have made many documentaries. I've done many videos on her. I think I can bring up a lot of these points. If nothing else, hey, it'll be blood for the blood gods, all that kind of stuff. So yes, I go forward with that. She then calls me a bitch boy, which was amazing.
Yeah, well, you did wait to the end, and it did seem like you set that up.
So bitch boy reporting for duty here. And
like, you kind of did act like that. You could have done that from the beginning if you were going to do it. I honestly think
I
honestly think him and Dylan Burns spoke behind the scenes, and he told Dylan Burns that he wants to call her a fascist and this and that. And Dylan was like, oh, I don't want that kind of image on my channel. Like, I think that's funny. Yeah, you should do it. But I don't want that, to be part of my brand and this and that. Because he's always talking about his brand or whatever. The hippy dippy brand or whatever. So I think that's what happened. He was like, all right, they'll do it at the end in the closing statements. And then I can back out and you guys can stay and, and talk it out or whatever. But she didn't want to do that and fall for his trick, because that's basically what that was. And I think that was a total setup and a trick. But
all right,
I don't know.
Well, let's do this. You're here.
I don't got proof of that, but that's what it looks like a lot.
She then says she wants to talk to counterpoints. It's totally fine.
It's very convenient. A lot of convenient things happened at once.
No, it's counterpoints. It's don't do this to me. And then right afterwards, she said she had to go hang out with family instead, which is also totally fine. Family comes first.
So what's the problem?
I have no qualms with any of that. So I'm like, you know what? We're gonna just set up this
All on-
one-on-one. We're supposed to have it. Let's set it up. Here we go. It'll be, people are demanding it.
We're
Even though-
supposed to set it up. You just said that, yeah. So we hadn't agreed on any rules. You just agreed that it would be a 1v1, but you didn't agree if whether you were going to have a mod, whether what you were going to debate, you know, nothing of that sort. All you said was that there would be a
everyone
1v1.
is furious already at me for platforming her in the first place.
Platform.
Why not have some fun? Let's go do this thing. She then retorts with the fact that I challenge you in the goblet of ideas.
Right, she's challenging you. This is the beginning. This is the challenge.
In the marketplace of ideas. However, it has to be done with Destiny as the host, exclusively.
Right, and then he denies this. He's going to later say that he's agreed to all her terms later on. But right now, he's showing us that he denied her first term, the challenge itself, the original challenge. He
I want
denies.
everyone to know I just tried to set up a second debate and he refused. He intentionally used the last minute of the 2-hour conversation when I had to finish super chats with Connor and leave to get ad homs into thinking I wouldn't get a hold of him, Lamau. So now it's basically like, you saw my tweet, 1v1, Destiny is the mod. Now, you'll have to excuse me
said
when
no on
I
stream.
say, and this is of no intentional ill will to Destiny, because I do believe Destiny at times can be a fantastic mod. He has been. He has also done the thing that all of us do sometimes, which is you jump in to try and help a buddy. But at either rate, I think that Destiny
neither of
cannot
you
be an
are his
impartial
buddy.
actor in this whole event, as per the reasons I've already shown.
And he's
I think I've
he's
provided
argued and
sufficient
defeated both of
evidence
you
to
in
that
debate.
fact, all right?
Or at least
So,
according to that.
I responded with,
I don't know about him, but
I will
Lawrence,
do
I've never
what
seen
we had
any of this.
planned from the very get-go. 1v1. Let's just do this. 1v1, you and me. No mods.
That's
no
you.
masters, no
That's it. You.
Yeah.
He just said he's had this planned, but this is a negotiation, bro. You don't make the demands. You ask for something. Well, she's giving you a stipulation for it. You don't want that. She's gonna give you another stipulation. This is called a negotiation. This is totally normal. He doesn't get
Destiny
that.
This
cannot
isn't
be an impartial
backing out,
actor
yeah.
In this one.
Yeah, you know, it's so weird that he doesn't understand the concept that this is a fucking negotiation and nobody's really agreed to either way.
event, as per the reasons I've already shown you. I think I've provided sufficient evidence to that fact. All right. So I responded with, I will do what we had planned from the very get-go. 1v1. Let's just do this. 1v1, you and
That's
me.
what you agreed on, but you didn't agree exactly what the rules were gonna be.
No mods, no masters, no nothing. Let's just
You didn't
have a
agree
talk,
with no
right?
mods. Nobody ever
We can
agreed
do
to
that.
that.
No,
That's not true.
Retweeting like
I think
wild.
that-
Every single person who agrees with her.
not even he would
retweet, and some nice
consider
tweets.
one
No, yeah.
first
Even
one.
even from the original
without a
debate,
mod.
that wasn't agreed to. She said originally off the bat that it would be with a moderator, either modern day debates or Dylan Burns. So there's at no point did she ever say she would have a debate with him without mods until she said let's meet in person and do it. She said okay, no mods, but let's we're in the same city, let's meet in person and do it.
Kitten. And then we got to the meme. So here's where the meme enters the fray. So
he's
it's
gonna
meme
go
time,
through this
everybody.
meme.
Now I'm gonna have you all know. I'm actually a little bit proud of the fact that I've not only created a meme that I thought was a banger,
I don't know what the meme is,
but it's an actual meme now because it's being reused. I mean, it's being reused against me, but it could become a new
Is that
format.
maybe that's the
It
meme
seems like
you
it's a
made
new
of
format.
JF knocking. And
I created a meme. I'm pretty sure, right? I don't know. Anyways, check it out, everybody.
Where's Destiny's hat? Destiny should be on there too. Oh, they didn't put Destiny on there. Ah, he defeated himself.
I don't think he made this. I think he ripped this off himself.
This Lance from TheSerfs shit talked me on a stream multiple times for irresponsibly platforming Lauren Southern, but I debated her on a children's book. He debated her and apparently lost. You didn't watch it? On the existence of a genocide. That's not what it was about either. Not to mention him losing to JF, a eugenicist, a while back. Yeah, that is true though. They said, this other guy, Mouthy Infidel, said, wait, Lance irresponsibly platformed a right-winger by being incompetent at debate? I'm shocked. Yeah, not shocking. I'm sure he meant that sarcastically. I'm starting to actually wonder if the debates I've been watching do any fucking research at all. Lance's performance was so horrible that I'm starting to worry that a lot of the info given by leftist creators is all wrong. Pathetic performance. Wow. Vicious. He's not even reading these. This guy. Oh yeah, he said. Just highlighting it. So she said, I want everyone to know I just tried to set up a second debate. Oh yeah, and he intentionally backed out to get ad homs in thinking I wouldn't hold him to it. Yeah. Lauren Southern, he tweeted out Lauren Southern didn't like getting called out on her lifetime of alt-rightery. Oh my god. What a shit talker. When did I refuse? So you said you'd do a 1v1 with Destiny, right? You said he refused. He said not with Destiny. That was the stipulation.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. She's already directed all the terms of service, all right? I've
all
done
the
every
terms
single
of
thing she's
service.
asked.
So stupid. It's me and another indigenous content creator using this as a vehicle to finally discuss Canadian genocide on a large scale. Oh man, you fucked that up. You didn't do a good job with that one. Oh, her a fash down there it is. I didn't go there to have a wonderful time. I went there to call her a fash to her face and say that her whole rebranding tour is a lie and she has to apologize for all this stuff.
He always does
God.
that. He always
So, by the way, this
adds
is
the
petty.
thing that makes him look like a moron.
Yeah, it does.
This was super
That's
petty
what's
of me, but I
making
was
it
like,
funny.
as a video editor, I was like, why did you rip the sound from mine? You could have just the song's really easy to find. Don't Stop Me Now, 8-bit. You don't have to rip my audio because the friendship you're hearing here, that's the Sub-Zero friendship fatality part from my original one. So
maybe that's I don't know if he gets this, but maybe that's the joke, right? Because the joke is he defeated himself, so it's his own theme music. You know what I'm saying? Kind of.
Yeah.
To his own defeat. I don't think he realizes that. Maybe that might be purposeful. He's thinking they're being lazy, but that might have been on purpose.
it's just sloppy. I know. It's juvenile. I'm petty. I've told you before I'm petty, but it's just one editor to another, you know?
You're such a bitch, Lan.
You're such a bitch.
No,
Lance.
bitch boy! Call me my fucking name. Say my name.
Oh my god.
Oh my
So
God.
anyways,
What a weirdo.
I was like, lol.
Okay, calm down.
And at the same time,
Yeah,
Lauren
calm
Southern
down,
also
You're
did that
not-
thing where
you're
she
not
tweeted
cool
out
like
that
that.
one little clip. Here it is.
Be doing
Why are
showing.
you afraid when Destiny says he won't even be debating you? You said you'd be happy to be a 2-on-1. So it would seem like
Yeah.
I'm cowarding out here. Let's listen to the clip. Lauren's not asking for debates with Destiny's all Americans about the. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. She's already directed all the terms of service. All right, I've
my
done
God.
every single thing she's asked.
No,
I
but you
switched-
haven't. You ducked out of 1v1 with Destiny, and then you say that
1v1
he's agreed to everything.
to
But you
2v2,
didn't.
Even though it was like, I don't need a partner, I'll do 2v1. Wait, that seems slightly longer than the meme. Let's return to the meme for a second. Maybe it's because of the timing. I'm not doing that. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. She's already directed all the terms of service, all right? I've done every single thing she's asked.
Yeah, but you didn't.
Oh, so that's what we call a clip. That was a clip. It was an out of context clip, but it didn't have the full thing, did it? Well, that's not very fair.
Man, it
It's not
kind
very
of just
fair to
says the
me.
same thing, though. Like, it doesn't really say anything different because it's a little longer. Kind of still says the
should be
same
able
thing.
to say my
Because what he's missing out on is this new challenge is a new challenge. This isn't part of the old challenge. You agreed to the other things. We're starting over. And the initial challenge is 1v1 with Destiny as the moderator. And you're denying that. So she gives you an alternative, and then you deny that too, you know? And then you're saying that she's the one doing that when you're the one denying all these terms
My
that you're
piece.
getting. And then saying you're not denying them. Like, what?
Okay.
But you
let's see what
denied
the
them
full
all
clip is in context.
for this new challenge.
2v2, even though it was like, I don't need a partner, I'll do 2v1.
Right,
now
that
she's
was
like,
for the
okay.
initial debate, but now you're on talking about a second debate. So your negotiations for how the debate's gonna go reset, and you start over.
Must have Destiny there.
It's you see how he's trying to weasel out of this by bringing in the negotiations for the first debate and saying that that's part of the second. I already agreed to all this stuff. It's like, no, you didn't agree to anything. It started at you denying the debate with Destiny modding.
No, I mean, if she wants to debate, we'll just have a 1v1. That's it, and it won't be on Destiny stream.
The age of 18. are vaccinated against COVID-19, and that
Yeah, there you have it. If you'd like to do this, we'll just have a 1v1, and that'll be it. We don't need to do all these strange.
None of this is
dances.
strange. This is normal.
Don't need all these.
Okay.
How is asking for a moderator? How is that a dance? Like in a debate, that's not a dance. And then doing it in person, that's not a dance.
There's new terms and conditions.
New terms.
She added the next one, which is
That's
that
the first
I have
step.
to meet you in person. Okay, okay, fine, Lance. Let's do 1v1 in person. You're in the same city as
Yeah,
me.
you guys are in the same city. Why not do it in person?
Which again,
you did say you wanted to call her a fash to her face, so and tell her to apologize for her lifetime of alt-righteries. So why
the
not
idea
do
of
that?
sticking
She
to the
gave
original
you
terms
the
of service
opportunity.
seems like a very
The
strange.
opportunity, yeah.
That's why I'm saying he's trying to twist this as she's trying to back out of it, where I'm saying he's the one backing out of this.
Yeah.
He's the one sounding like he's saying things that he really wants to do stuff, and now when he has the opportunity, he's trying to dance around it, you know? When all he has to do is say, okay, and that's it. And he shows that he's the better person. Well, maybe not the better person, but he shows that he's not cowardly, you know? And not backing out by just saying, okay.
Very strange ordeal indeed. It wouldn't be so odd if
Uh-oh. This tweet is from an account you muted, so he muted this person that he's responding to right here. So,
Uh-oh. I wonder who.
if there wasn't more to the
Does it
story.
say on her tweet?
If there wasn't even yet more
oh,
story.
what did he say before that? A 3-second clip of me saying, no, I'm not doing that, is you clipping. The full clip has to... What? Is you clipping. Okay, period. That full clip has to be... I'll gladly do a 1v1 with her, but it's not going to be on Destiny stream. You're still editing it to look like it was not right. No. So then, yeah, so it's you denying it with Destiny. So then she gives you the next stipulation. Okay, fine, let's do this 1v1, but in person. Like you want one-on-one, let's do it. And then again, why do you keep trying to change the terms like before? 1v1, no mods on stream, just like you said at the end of the debate. Is that what she said? I don't remember her saying no mods. I remember him saying, "Oh, we can keep this." She was like, "We'll set up another time and we'll do this. You know? We'll do a 1v1."
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But I don't
That's
remember
her.
her ever saying with no mods.
Strange. Because I told you, everybody, I saved the best for last.
I doubt it. I doubt.
Because it gets weird. If it's not already kind of weird, it does get weirder. Because I messaged Lauren behind the scenes, asking for that one-on-one. In what I would only say is an incredibly reasonable offer. This was copied and pasted. For me, I don't get why you're dodging. You won't do one-on-one unless there's a mod. I agree that you
But
said
she's not dodging. You're saying it's reasonable, but you're already starting the premise on something that she's not doing. She's offering you challenges. You're denying them. You're the one dodging it. She's not saying, no, I won't do this. She's saying, okay, let's do this, but with this stipulation. And you say no, and she says, okay, then with this stipulation. And then you say no. And then she says, okay, but with this stipulation. And you say no again. That's what's happened 3 times in a row.
2, I said I was fine solo, but then it was 2v1, but then you declined. But 2v2, you don't follow through. Then you asked my terms. I asked
That's
1v1.
all stuff from the
Oh
first
my
debate.
God.
That's not this challenge.
Let's solve
This
this.
challenge is 1v1 with Destiny as the moderator. That's the initial challenge. Before that, it was just you guys verbally stating that you would have this debate, but you hadn't negotiated any terms on that. And she said, we'll set it up. She said, all right, we'll set it up. She said, let me know and we'll set it up.
And then
So
it's
in her saying we'll set it up is like saying we'll negotiate the terms and we'll figure it out.
Destiny only or in person. I won't talk over you. What's the issue? Why don't we just book it? And then, you know, the mediary.
That's you trying to force this. That's what that is. Why don't we just book it? I don't want to do the other things. Why can't we just do
Give
what
me
I
my
want?
way.
Yeah, let's do it my way. I don't understand why you can't do it the way I want you to do it.
Some very nice words, some very pleasant words to this.
And this is like a power move, right? Like it's a power play to be like, I control the debate because we're doing it on my terms. I'm coming in on my terms. Like people feel like that's an advantage, but it really isn't.
You know, I don't understand your concerns when it comes to 1v1. Lance is not considered for being rude. He will not be shouting over you, interrupting you. I mean, those would be valid concerns if they were coming from someone else. But if you'll see Lance, even in his most antagonistic debates, he's very cordial and polite. Check out his debate with Nuance Bro, his debate with Actual Justice Warrior. The standards of the...
He was very polite. Yeah, he didn't call Sean a whole bunch of things that Sean isn't, right? Like calling him a race realist and all these other things.
He didn't expose his bad faith argument style to that debate too. Like,
yeah, he was so bad faith in that argument.
Debate had been set beforehand. They both adhered to it. There's no reason for that. And now, everybody, I present to you the official response behind the scenes. As you've been waiting for, I know I've been letting you salivate for some time now, but here it is.
Uh-oh.
Forgive me if I do not believe Lance won't talk over me. The man has lied plenty, and I have no doubts this is a lie again. I would prefer a mod, and I would prefer we talk face to face, but I will agree to the debate his 101 no mod terms.
So look, she's agreeing to his terms, but adding another term now, and he's gonna deny it again.
If he makes a public statement, and this is where I have to make a public statement, everyone's saying, I did not have the spine to call Lauren Southern a fascist to her face.
Which is a true story. She said you wanted to call her that to her face. She challenged you to it. She said we can meet and you can tell her that to her face, and you denied that. So after that, she's saying, well, okay, then make a video saying you deny that, calling, and say that you don't have the spine to face me like you said you would, and call me a fash, and then we'll do this 1v1 with no mods on your terms. But he won't do that either.
So if I now...
She's saying I think it's a both fair and true statement. He's kind of admitting to that.
I'm held ransom. If I make a ransom note live here on the stream, if I do a ransom note, apparently she has to...
How is that a ransom note? That's not a ransom. You're not kidnapped, bro. You're negotiating a debate. The terms of a debate. And why she doesn't have to go out of her way. She's the bigger audience one. She doesn't need you, Lance. She doesn't need you at all.
Agree to the terms. Apparently.
I think he has to believe
that's
that
what has to
because
happen.
of the thing he's criticizing her as with, like the rebranding.
I don't know, chat. What are you thinking? I was...
Yeah, she doesn't need him at all. She has a way bigger audience. So she's already gone around and like smacked down a couple of people, like with Hunter, or she smacked down Hunter. So
I was thinking of just retweeting one of these.
So bad the Hunter fake retired from debating.
Yeah,
it's like everyone's a gangster.
Hung up his gloves
before he even went into it, knowing he was going to get wrecked.
Scenes, they're trying to hold you ransom. Because what the fuck, Lord? I just gotta say this. Why are conservatives so weird? Why are you so weird?
Is this? This is not weird. This is a normal these are negotiations. You're power playing her. She's power playing you back. And all you're doing is trying to play the weird card on it. But you're doing the same thing.
Can you blame her for wanting that though? Like, look how he ended that.
Yeah, look
at his closing statement, which is such a bitch move.
And then he thinks that she has to bend her will to him and be like, "Oh, we're doing it my way," Like, no, she doesn't have to do that.
Yeah.
To put this on blast, but all of this is fucking...
To put this on blast. She did it herself. She put it out publicly. She's not afraid to say this.
Like, back out flexing. This is coward flexing.
This is not back out flexing. This is you denying her challenges. How is this back out? If you think this is back out flexing, the best thing for you to do is call her bluff then, right? Like if somebody bluffs you, you call the bluff. That's what you do in poker. So if he honestly, truly believes his own words that he's saying here, he should put his money where his mouth is and tell her, okay, I'll meet you in person. And then she should be like, oh, I changed my mind and back out, right? Because that's what she's doing. She's back out flexing, right? So if you believe that, honestly, why not call her on her bluff? But he won't because he knows that's not true. He's using that as an excuse.
You're doing these things where you keep one-upping yourself. So you're hoping that like, oh, no way Lance is going to do this. Yeah. Okay, Lance, I agree.
No way Lance is going to do this. How do you defeat that? By saying, okay, let's do it.
One-on-one. But Destiny is the moderator.
And then, yeah, but whose fault is it that you're saying no to that? It's not her fault. It's your fault. You could bite the bullet if you want to debate her 1v1 so bad to have Destiny as the mod? If you don't want that, then negotiate something else, you know? Don't just sit there and go, you're dodging. Negotiate something. Say, well, what else can we do to, you know, to please this? Can we have somebody else moderated that you'd be comfortable with, you know, besides Destiny?
You're not really talking to, not on good terms with, the one who kind of coached me for that debate. Destiny is
already adding the lie again that he coached her when that's not what Destiny said. He said he talked to her about it. That's not coaching somebody, you know. Maybe it's true. Maybe he did coach her on it, but that's not what it's saying there. And you're just assuming that and saying that.
Moderator.
And I doubt Lauren Southern needs Destiny to coach her on any of this. Like, this was easy shit.
Just one-on-one, like we agreed.
This was just knowing
one-on-one.
the information.
In person. Location to be determined.
Yeah, in person. Why not? You said you wanted to call her a fascist to her face. You know, she's calling you out on that, and you're the one flex dodging it. You know, he doesn't even realize.
Terms to be determined as well, and also you need to make a video.
No, that's not. Also, you need to make a video because you denied saying it to her face in person. She's saying, all right, then I'll do what you want if you make a video saying that you're a coward because you denied saying it to her face as you said you wanted to. That's the whole point. It wasn't also. He's like adding them together as if she's asking for all these things at once.
Responsibility again for what I thought was a weak first half to that debate, and that is something that I have to improve upon. If people think that I have foregone
You're not going
to
improve upon it. You suck at debating,
especially as a leftist, as a prominent leftist. As well.
I think like I didn't think there was anybody worse than Hunter. He's worse than Hunter for sure.
Well, then I will listen to their feedback as well. I think, and I agree with a handful of people, especially other content creators that I've spoken to, many of whom I respect deeply, many in academia, many in bands, tribes, First Nations, elders, and leaders who have emailed me, many prominent and large checkmarks, big streamers, big Twitter users, that the second half of the debate was actually very, very good. Was actually very informative, very educative, and that it did actually teach a very large amount of people about
all of those could be true, but the thing is that none of that was part of the debate. So it's just him throwing out facts that have nothing to do with the argument. And that's why he was so bad at this. It's not that you weren't putting out information that wasn't true sometimes. It's that none of it had to do with what the fuck you guys were arguing.
Range of topics that they didn't even think about. It's one thing to say that the government of Canada bears some responsibility for creating the conditions of poverty in which most...
They never were talking about conditions of poverty at any point. Like, that was not a thing that was being debated.
Indigenous children live. It's another thing to say that the government of Canada is responsible directly for all child welfare and how much they're being paid, child and care and service.
Again, had nothing to do with the debate. So you're putting out stuff that's great if that's your goal, but that's in bad faith because that's not part of the debate. You went on there and agreed you were going to have a debate, and then you're just throwing out tidbits of knowledge that have nothing to do with the arguments. Like, and that's your goal. That's bad faith.
As well as
you didn't go there honestly to have a debate.
And are not only underfunding those programs, but are underfunding them to such a high degree that it is creating...
Yeah, that's... Hold on. Where was that part? He called himself a prominent lefty at what point?
Underfunding those programs, but are underfunding them to
either
such
way,
a
he
high
called himself
degree
prominent.
That
that's
it is
great.
creating the exact conditions that is resulting in the kids being taken away from
I
their
know he does
parents,
better on Twitch, but on
that
YouTube he's got
system
like
is creating
5,000
a
views
perpetual
on this.
system of sexual and physical abuse that is winding all those children in jail, which is why they have disproportionately high
but
rates,
none of this has
government of
anything to
Canada
do with
itself
debate you guys had.
Suing
wasn't part of the
Sydney
argument.
Blackstock and other class action lawsuits that have said you have to be accountable for the bare minimum. The bare minimum. It's not even as if they...
That's what I'm saying. Regardless of that, all of this could be true, and these could be tidbits he's putting out there that's true, and people are saying, hey, you did a good job getting this information out there. But that doesn't mean you did a good job in the debate, because, like I said, none of that was the argument at all. That doesn't fit whether there's an ongoing genocide, if you can call it that. That doesn't fit that. It doesn't fit that whether the anomalies they're finding are mass graves or unmarked graves. They didn't even get to the definition of that, but none of this has anything to do with that. What was the other thing they were arguing? Oh, the church burnings, if that's whether that's justified. They didn't get to that either. You know, but this argument doesn't fit that either. All this, in fact, all this can do is I don't know if this is what he's saying, but his argument here could be that all these facts that he's spouting out means that it's justified for people to burn down churches. I don't know if that's what his argument is. It shouldn't be, but if it is, maybe that's what he's saying. But if it's not an argument to that, that's the only one it fits into, you know, is to justify burning down churches. So if he's saying that's what it is, I don't know. But what other argument would that fit into? None of these things he's saying is an argument to anything else.
Suing them
For sure.
in the first place to be like, hey, by the way, you should be paying the kids more. They were suing them because you have been paying them up to 30% less than what they deserve. And this takes away the accountability of all the other things, like the water on the reserves, the deplorable living conditions.
I mean, that might be the point. Maybe that was his argument to say that it's justified to burn down churches.
Please, when you talk about this
Gross.
subject, why this subject is important to me, and why I keep hammering this point home and disagree emphatically with Rem when he goes on Destiny's show to try and back up his points on this issue. The Indian Act of Canada, the one that enshrined all
You
of
guys
this
didn't argue the Indian Act. That wasn't part of any of the arguments.
into law, whether it be the reserve systems,
Nor would it fit into any of the arguments. It has nothing to do with those things.
whether it be the residential schools, whether it be things like not even treating women as citizens of either their bands or of Canadians. Like, they're not only Canadians,
But that's
they're
not a
only members of
genocide.
their own bands. These are from societies that used to be a large part patriarchal. Those laws have been amended. They have a couple of times, but nowhere near where they should. And some of the worst parts of them are still enshrined into Canadian law.
Yeah, but are they enforced?
The reserve
Does
system
anybody
of
still do
Canada
it? Do you mean
is
they
still
don't change it
enshrined
time?
into Canadian law under the Indian Act of Canada. That hasn't changed. So if you want to talk about these issues, especially on a broader, on a larger scale, as to how this affects us in every day,
But that wasn't what the argument was. Maybe you should have. Maybe instead of just doing this, let's just do this, let's just do that. Maybe you could have negotiated that and said, "Hey, I want a part of this that we're going to debate this," and then you could have brought up those points to be part of the argument, and it would have been a good argument, you know. But instead, he never did that, and he keeps just wanting to do the debate, but he never wants to negotiate anything, you know. It's like, well, you can counter negotiate and be like, okay, I'll do that, but let's also do this. I want this, okay, you know, and you can both agree on and get something from each side.
Yeah.
But instead, he still even now doesn't want to negotiate what they're going to debate. All he wants is, he just wants the agreement 1v1, no mods on this day. And that's it. Like, he doesn't want anything. We're going to discuss this, this, and that. None of that. Like, he just, nope, let's just get on there and then we'll talk. And it's like, that's not a negotiating.
those are the topics we have to talk about. The
Why
reason
should
the
she
Truth
do
and
that?
Reconciliation Commission is so important, and even counterpoints agreed with this, or counterpoints, sorry. Even counterpoints agreed with this, that it was revolutionary what it accomplished.
Yeah, they conceded a bunch of stuff that you're saying in arguments that you're trying to say to have arguments against them, that they conceded. And that was what you did. That's what he did the entire stream, was him arguing points and them saying, yeah, we said we conceded to that already. Like, that was part of our opening statements.
Part of it was the calls
So
to
stupid.
action. And I implore everyone, if you have a little bit of time, because it's not dense reading, I can't do, you know, really, really intentionally legal scripture, stuff like that. But you don't have to have a very large amount of legalese to understand what is said. And their calls to action are to bridge the gap, to end this process. It's the pathway forward to reconciliation. That's why it's important. And the first calls to action.
But that's
under those
they've been
provisions,
doing those things. They're not agreeing to all of them, but there's a whole bunch of shit in there. Like, it's not gonna all happen overnight. They're doing them piece by piece and seeing which ones are feasible, which ones aren't.
are about child welfare, about no longer taking children away from Indigenous families at such an abhorrently high rate. 50% of all.
I don't trust Lance's stats ever because he exaggerates them so much, but he's saying these kids 60% are being taken away. What does that mean? I don't believe that that's the case. I think a lot of those are being taken away because of abuse, because of neglect. I don't think they're just randomly being taken away.
Kids across the country in foster care happen to be Indigenous. To stop
That's probably has to do with their parents' behavior in some cases, I'm sure, in a lot of cases.
one of the first things you
But
have to
then
do
Saul's
is
giving
create.
them their
Yeah.
children up because they can't handle them.
I don't think
That
Canada
happens
just
too.
goes into reserves and goes, I like that kid.
Give
Let's
us your
let's
kids."
take him. Let's take him and
Yeah.
sell him to someone. Like I think they go in there and they see kids that have been abused or neglected and left around and are just orphans.
Create indigenous child protection services that can either be on reserves or within the province, but so they are no longer pulled out of their communities, forced into white families. They're no longer
Forced
sold into white
into white
families like
families.
they used to be in the 60s.
Now they're being
They used to be
taken in
child
by white
trafficking
families
back
because
then.
nobody else wants them.
But they're forced out of their communities, forced to dislearn.
Do you
their
have
language,
enough
forced
indigenous,
to unlearn
good
their
indigenous
culture.
people that
All
want
the
to take
things that were
kids,
horrifying about the
orphans kids
residential
in?
school
Like,
system still happen today.
Who else
under
is
the
gonna
Canadian
take them?
foster care system? That is a massive tragedy. That's the one that you can't look away from. That's the one that I was hoping to try and teach people about. That's the one that I am very passionate about when it comes to this topic. And that's the one that I hope resonates with everybody. Because that is pretty much the most important thing. If you don't want all these problems
But
to
you
keep
didn't argue
occurring
those things.
generation after generation
point?
after generation, then you have to invest in children in this instance. Not only that, you had a duty to invest in them. But instead, you sued. You countersued. Stephen Harper sued so much to get this suppressed. Even Justin Trudeau has sued. He sued Indigenous residential school survivors for like $100 million.
I bet you he just sees headlines. I bet you he's saying, "Oh, they sued for this and that." I bet if you read those articles, there's like really good reasons for these things and why there's like court stuff going on based on that. You know, and I bet there's really good reasons for it. But he just looks at it as they're being sued and stopping them from getting the stuff they want. And it's like, yeah, but maybe because they're not supposed to get that stuff, you know, or maybe they're asking for a bit too much and they're being sued for a little less of it. I don't know.
Than Harper ever did.
But, you know,
they're
if you
actively
look into
fighting
it, you
against
probably
this
see the
rather
reasoning
than
for
doing
it.
the reconciliation part of it. And that's why it's ongoing.
He's not saying why. At no point there did he say why they're doing
Because
it.
a handful of people were DMing me, and I wanted to actually add this segment as to why they thought Destiny was helping Lauren Southern prepare for the debate, and also what exactly was the purpose of all of that.
I don't think they helped. I think they had a conversation about it.
What is going on.
And he
what are
probably
your
told her what
thoughts
he thought
on
you were
this
going to come
involvement?
with, which you probably
I
did
think most
even
people
worse
usually think when
than
they
what
talk about
Destiny
him,
thought you were going to do, I bet.
Phil.
I bet a bunch of
That
stuff Destiny
the
said
way
he
his
was
mind
going to
works
say,
is
or something.
gonna
Oh,
use
they're
my
going to give you this argument, that argument. I bet none of that
ideas.
ended up coming up.
Bad ideas. And I think this is the way it's broken up to, right? The way his mind works
God,
is he's got good
this
ideas.
is not going to work
bad
like
ideas.
this.
So, good ideas, wealth redistribution.
Oh my god,
defending
he's trying to do a
public
Destiny
property.
thing.
Yeah, and he's talking
Oh
about
my
that was his drawing of Destiny that he drew right there. It's so bad.
Voting.
So now he's steel manning things. He's steel manning,
So I think this
trying
is how
to
the
steel
brain
man
works, and that
Destiny,
he's got all these good ideas, and,
and
he's
saying
got
that
bad
these are what
ideas,
Destiny considers good
you know,
ideas and bad ideas.
racism,
We have a message from
obvious,
Santiago. He says, tell Alf to read my DM.
Taking away our indigenous because they abuse their kids more. Now 60% of indigenous.
anarchists.
Yeah, that's what I said.
And so this is the way the mind works.
I don't trust the stats.
So he's got all these things that he
He
thinks
just
is
makes
bad,
up stuff of what
and all
it
the things
says.
that he thinks is
60%
good,
of these kids are being taken away.
and
Yeah,
that's
not
just the way it's going
how
to be.
it
It's very,
works out.
it's very binary. It's very linear. All right. But in reality, the way it works is the same way every single other human being is. Basically, it's more like there's just a whole bunch of ideas. Okay. This is how all
He
people
sucks
are.
at this. What
A
is
whole
he
bunch of- a
doing?
whole bunch of
How
beliefs
is it?
and a variety of topics. And in each one of those beliefs, you could be like,
What the hell?
pedos bad. I think everyone kind of agrees to that.
Wow.
Then you might also
Amazing.
think abolish race. That could be another one of your ideas.
Abolish race? How do you do that?
Everyone
How does
should
that
get
work?
food.
Just stop.
That's another one
Stop
of your
being.
ideas.
Just stop
Yeah,
being a
Responsible
different
is
race.
gonna be like,
You're not a different race.
I
Just stop being a
really,
different
Human.
race.
really fucking
Only
hate
humans.
Jim. Now this one could be a little personal, obviously. Like not all of you might have
Oh.
quite as big of a hard on for
But
Jim
also abolish race.
as,
Talk
as
to
someone does. But this is the way
certain
the
races
human
about
mind
that
usually
who
works.
want to be their
And
race.
what we do is we try and
see their races
categorize
being
everyone. We
different.
put us into these categories. So you
Well,
are
people
a
do.
liberal. You are a conservative. You are a progressive. You are a socialist. You are a democratic socialist. You're a social democrat. You're an anarchist. You're a communist. You're an anarcho.
You're the one who does that.
But
It's
it doesn't
funny that he does that because he's the one who does that. He labels people and says, "Oh, this guy's a race realist. This guy's a Nazi."
matter what you are, you could be tried to be lumped into all these categories.
Also
And one of
says
these categories is going to have this
when
weird
you
thought where you really
when
just
you sue the
fucking hate
government
Jim.
and they
And that might
respond,
not be
counts that as a lawsuit
congruent
against
with your other
Indians.
beliefs.
Count that a what?
He says Sean says when you sue the government and they respond, he counts that as a lawsuit against Indians.
Yeah, when they respond. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's probably not really the way he's saying this. It's bullshit.
What I'm trying to say with all this is that people consistently try to pigeon Destiny as either
Never trust anything Surf says on that, any stat or anything like that, because he does that constantly, and I've looked into it many times and seen that he's extremely like exaggerating what the stat is, and,
like,
or
well,
spreading it across other shit that it doesn't say, and you're like, whoa, that's not what that says.
he is now turned decidedly to the right. His right pivot arc has begun, and they're turning also to the meme that I made when I made that incredible meme. It's so good, it's already been replicated. People are already memeing the meme. I talk about
I don't
memes
think he
within
didn't
memes.
start it.
The point in that
I
was way more that
swear
like,
he
you
didn't
should be
start it.
reflecting upon the fact that if a lot of your social values that you're putting out there, such as pronouns outside of he, her, she, her, he, him, she, her, or they, them,
you
aren't
can't even
valid,
get it right, bro.
stuff like that. That might be something that is reflected on by conservatives as being something they also agree with. Like, yeah, neo-pronouns are weird. I don't have to deal with them. Stuff like that. That was the whole idea. And to paint the whole thing as in, look, a lot of conservatives are agreeing
That's
with
not
you.
what anybody's
not
doing.
the same as me thinking that tomorrow Destiny is now going to be voting for Tucker Carlson.
Funny, because his buddy Actual Jake is the one who said that. He's the one who made a prediction. He put out a tweet, and Destiny saw it, and that's how they started beefing, because he made out a prediction saying, I'm calling it next election, Destiny's voting for the Republican candidate.
Or anything like that. I think he's always
Which is
probably
weird,
vote
because Destiny's
for,
pretty much a
who's
Democrat. I don't know why he would ever vote
But
for the conservative.
the big question that I know a lot of people were probably wondering and thinking, what is Destiny's goal with Lauren Southern? And I would like to posit that it could be one of three things, and I'm going to tell you which one of those three I believe it lands on, okay? The first one is that his hatred of the left and leftists, and none of us are unique in this, Chico's really helping me emphasize this point, the hatred of the left is so powerful, it's become all-consuming, it's all he thinks about, that he would love to see them drown in this enormous pool of virtue signaling and wokeism and tokenism and all this kind of stuff.
Calling out his
and
own
that is
thing.
just all that drives him now. And whatever aims
he just calls out your bad arguments, bro.
That
That's
could be
all
one
he
of the
does.
things, all right? The second
calls
one,
out your
which I think is
tactics
what all
for
of you
being bad
want me to
tactics
say,
and being weasel.
and what I think is kind
So
of
I calls you
juvenile,
spineless Lance.
is that it's cause they're gonna hook up and they're gonna
Oh my God.
genitals
He's
are gonna,
doing the
they're gonna have
thing
sex with
again.
each other,
But you know what it is these guys don't understand that these guys hate people they disagree with, right? So they don't
Yeah.
understand how Destiny can be friends or be cool, at least be cool with or reasonable with somebody he disagrees with. Him and Lauren disagree on a bunch of stuff. There's some crossover where they do agree on some stuff, but they disagree on a bunch of stuff. That doesn't mean he can't be cordial and cool with her. You know why? Because when they talk or she goes into arguments with him, she doesn't act like a weasel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She has a good faith argument and she concedes things and says, no, you're right about this, but this and that, you know. She comes into an argument in totally good faith. Destiny's problem with this guy, even though he can agree with him on a bunch of stuff, is that he's a weasel and he argues in bad faith, and that's what Destiny always calls out about him, and that's why he calls him spineless Lance. Because when he gets pushed, he says when he's debating and somebody pushes back against his argument, he weasels out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he tries to dodge the argument and doesn't get held accountable to a statement he made or a claim he made. So he calls him spineless Lance. You know, Lauren doesn't do that. Lauren will argue you straight. If you prove her wrong, she'll be like, okay, I was wrong about that, but this, you know, and then change her argument and adjust.
Lance just attacks the person.
Yeah, Lance just attacks you and dodges things, and when you're getting close to defeating his argument, he, you know, tries to jump ship and goes to another argument. Destiny's described it many times. I love watching when he breaks them down, but he says, like, what he does is he says something crazy, and then when you try to bust him on it, he backs off and starts throwing other facts that he said earlier in the debate in and repeating those facts and like trying to lump it into those points, so like trying to bury his argument with other arguments and facts, like so you forget that he made that argument.
Because his boys and the girls.
But that's
and the
spineless
birds
and
the
weaselly.
bees
Just
and
face the
all
argument or face the loss.
No, I don't think that's the reason either. I think, personally, it falls into category 3. This is my hypothesis. This is my armchair lens, okay? I think this might be an attempt at transferring someone who used to be a very big bad figure into someone who's closer and more tuned to centrism and omniliberalism.
He's just can talk to her because she's not bad faith. That's all it is. They can totally disagree. They disagree on tons of shit, and they've debated before and disagreed on shit, but they can still talk like normal human beings with each other because neither of them come to the conversation in bad faith. Lance instantly goes into the conversation with, she's a fascist, she's this and that, like he's totally got this horrible bad faith image of her that he's gonna attack.
Like, they conceded their point of view, and they didn't even acknowledge that. They still kept on it.
Counterpoints, and Lauren came in super good faith, already conceding their points to them and softening the debate and saying, we agree with you that these things have happened, but now we're talking about now, right? And then they couldn't even understand that, and they would keep twisting the argument to being like, you guys are saying a genocide never even happened. They're like, no, we conceded that to you at the beginning. That happens like 3 or 4 times throughout the debate.
Yeah, like
why they throw that to them. And they say, what are you talking about? Like, dude, catch up. Like we already conceded that a long time ago, like in the opening statements.
Similar to a Hunter Avallone. I'm sure all of you remember Hunter Avallone's arc. It's pretty much a template for a lot of people. Hunter Avallone went from being one of the biggest transphobic pieces of shit on the YouTubeosphere to now being someone who spends a lot of his time calling out transphobic, bigoted pieces of shit, spends a lot of time debunking his own videos. Is he perfect? No. Is any human perfect? No. I'm fucking a disaster, okay? But that's an example. Is there a lot of utility in that? Holy fuck, is there ever? Okay? Hunter Avallone might lose 200,000 subscribers who are like, I still want to be able to make fun of trans women. See ya. But for the 100,000 to 200,
why can't you make fun of trans women? You should be able to make fun of everyone, right? As long as you're making fun of everyone and not picking on one specific group.
1,000 who stay and are suddenly like, wait, the guy I've grown up with and I idealize is telling me that my ideas are bigoted. Well, then that's a decidedly good thing. So that could be the angle. Again, this is based on no facts, no knowledge, no nothing. I've done no research. And to DGG's credit, that's Destiny's community, they've seemed to be more outraged than anyone. When I've gone through the Reddit, said like, what the fuck are you doing? Stay away. This person is very bad. So one of the things I did want to bring up in that what some people consider to be just a shameless ending for lulz and fireworks and sparks and all that kind of stuff is that at the end of the day, if that is the turn or the arc or the whatever that Lauren Southern is actually beginning to go down, I have seen nothing in terms of
see, oh my god, he's exposing himself right here. He's moral. He's like, puffing his chest morally, like, I'm better than you. He's doing the Anna Kasparian, right? Like, I'm fucking better than you is what he's doing. He's judging her. He's basically like, I haven't seen, if this is an arc that she's on and she's turning more to the left, and then I haven't seen anything that would make up for what she did in the past and blah, blah, blah. So it's like he's holding court over her and shit. Like, what a douchebag. Who are you? Like, who are you?
Fuck are you?
Who are you to judge her and tell her that, her past, she doesn't want to repent for her past. She doesn't disagree with the things she did in the past. She's just a mom now and not putting herself in certain situations anymore.
Calling out her past beliefs. I've seen nothing in as far as...
And maybe she's softened up on some of her viewpoints. She's getting older and she's had children. Like, people change a bit as they get older, as they have kids, as they get married and settle down. They have different goals and priorities.
Here's what I did that was horrible. Here's what I did that affected a lot of people. Here's the very incredibly shady people that I associated with. Here's all the bad things that have been done. And as restitution, here's what I'm now going to...
As restitution. So she has to pay restitution now. This is kind of like gatekeeping. Like, he feels, which is not what's happening, but he feels like Lauren's trying to get into the left, which is not what's happening. Lauren's going to stay on the right. She's just not she's just becoming more moderate and being on the right. But he's like, he's gatekeeping, be like, no, we're not letting you into the left until you pay restitution for the things you did, in your past,
Towards to
And it's
try
like, who are
help.
you? She's not trying to. She doesn't need you, bro. Like, she doesn't need you to tell her what she has to do to come to your side. She's not trying to come to your side. She's still debating the left and
So far,
defeating.
to me, what it's felt a lot more like is it's kind of been this.
Because all you have to do is come into the debate in good faith and know what you're talking about. But he doesn't, and none of these people do. Hunter doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
What is more palatable now in today's climate? Because I can't go on YouTube anymore and talk about great replacement. I can't talk about white genocide. I mean, look what happened to Stefan Molyneux. You can't talk about the differences between black brains and white brains and how the two of them weigh different sizes and stuff like that. None of that is commercially viable anymore. I can talk.
I really doubt that's what it is, bro.
About men's ideology. I
think it's just that she's getting older and had kids and is settling down, so she has softer, more moderate views.
Talk about how I think it's dangerous if kids are given hormone therapy, because at the end of the day, it kind of scares me. I don't fully understand.
Yes, she's a mother. It kind of scares her thinking of the concept of doing that to her kids, so she empathizes with people who are scared about it. If you have an argument about it, then you can argue with her about it. But so far, people who have argued with her about it don't have good arguments, or at least break even with her, and and she's still gonna be afraid of doing that to her kid. So she's still gonna empathize with people who are scared of it.
I can talk about trans women in sports because this is a topic that people are concerned about. So this is something I'll do. That's what I've seen. So
yeah, why can't you argue that? I don't understand why you can't.
If that is the goal, in good faith,
you should be able to argue anything. Anything you want, you should be able to argue.
I say this entirely in good faith. If that is the goal, then please make her start realizing all the horrifying things she's done.
That's not her goal.
So I'm judging by the looks of this weird back and forth she's done.
She hasn't done anything that horrible. It's like, I don't even know what he's talking about. What's so horrible that she's done? She might have had some bad ideas you don't like, but how is that a horrible thing? Like,
I really think that Lance spent his entire time looking into Lauren's past in order to make up his closing statement, because and his closing statement is what makes me think that. And it could be wrong, but that's just he pays so much attention to that when it's just such a weird thing to do.
Well, he probably hated her for a long time because they're from the same area, and he probably hated her the whole time she was on the alt-right. He makes some comment about, I never seen it, but he makes some comment about Destiny debating Lauren Southern a long time ago and destroying her, and that's how a bunch of people moved to the left from this alt-right thing. And I was like, I don't know about all that, but that's what I'm saying is he views her even from back then as being super alt-right, Nazi, blah, blah, blah. So
that I lack
so he already has a bad disposition towards her.
That I have no spine.
Yeah, he calls her Nazi-like.
Yeah, exactly.
Me up on there. Then if that's as far as we're gonna go, and then the only person in communication she's gonna have is with Destiny, then hold her feet to the fire, figuratively.
For what?
Figuratively,
She's not being a hypocrite about anything.
And get her to take a very serious look at all the damage she's done throughout her long and sordid
damage.
career.
Damn, what an exaggeration.
Wow.
Chico really wants attention. And I'm gonna have to give it to him, everybody. And please, be nice to Jim, okay? Jim's not a bad guy. He's got a bad rap.
I think Lauren Southern put out a little
It's been around for
too. That's kind of not too long. So it's around 20 minutes. So I'll do this real quick too.
Welcome to BetMGM.
Oh, sorry.
Ooh, nice.
Nice lady, yeah. I'll take a bet on that.
Never make drama videos, but I am making a rare exception here because I think this one speaks to a much larger political theme that is deeply important in our discourse, if we can call it that. Some of you would have tuned into my debate last week on Indigenous issues, mass graves, and church burnings. It was myself and Counterpoints versus Lance from TheSerfs and an Indigenous YouTuber named Tale of Twin Rabbits. The result of that debate is now Connor and I are being summoned to The Hague to answer for crimes against humanity because what we did to them apparently is considered a genocide by the UN. But seriously, if you ask anyone, left or right, the consensus is that
Her
we
eyes
vote
are
the floor
crazy,
with them.
right?
And you know
What is up with your Lord? What are you doing with your eyes? Your eyes are going crazy over here.
My ability to not rub it in afterwards died well
She has this thing where she
after
opens her
the
eyes
third
really
time
big.
was
It looks
asked
I
to
saw
psychotic.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
debate. So
Yeah.
if you want to spend the next few hours laughing until your lungs don't work, I would highly recommend watching the reviews of the debate. And if you want to keep wheezing after that, try reading what Lefty Twitter thought of it. Here's a sample. Showing my normie in-laws the Lance versus Lauren debate to see how it's perceived by not terminally online people. Halfway through, they didn't even know Lauren was a fascist until I told them. They thought she was a boss-ass bitch.
That's because she was kicking his ass in the debate.
This was an absolute travesty of optics. They're both left-leaning Bernie supporters. Just gonna point it out, but when left-leaning people listen to me outside of the insane narrative vacuum online, they don't think I'm anything near a fascist. And that's probably because, hint, I'm not a fascist.
She's not a fascist.
The tweets and the squawks of extremely online vultures not.
But to them, conservatives are fascists, even if you're on a conservative side. Like, you're a fascist. I think it was, that's the stuff that I think Destiny and Vosh fought over the last time, was that he was calling people fascists just for being Republicans. And he was like, you can't just, label a whole group of people fascists like that. You have to actually explain what is fascistic about them. And he was trying to hold them to it. Like, what? You called Scalia fascist. He was like, well, what did he do that's a fascist? What's a good example you can give me, something he did that you would consider fascist?
This debate was such
and then,
a
he can't say anything. He goes into, you hate me because I'm a lefty and blah, blah.
For progressives,
weaseling out like
for
serfs.
some of them, it actually punched through the mirage of narrative-driven panic they'd been fed about the right. I am starting to worry that a lot of the info given by leftist creators is all
it's the same
wrong.
one he showed in the meme thing.
I was unironically moved to the right after Lance's dog shit performance.
I was unironically moved to the right.
Not, of course, that you would know any of this from reading Lance's Twitter page, which exists in the same bizarre alternate universe where dozens of churches burn themselves down all at once across Canada because of improper storage of incense. And no, I am not being deliberately absurd. Lance's debate partner.
Oh, if only she heard that one lady, one person on Twitter that made the global warming.
Oh my god, the global warming.
Because for some reason, I don't know
global
why,
warming.
this particular group of priests is just not aware that
58
you
churches caught on
have an
fire
open
for no
flame
reason.
next to flammable oil.
Because of global
and
warming.
so this is the 5th time that the fire department has been called out. So I would have liked to see you discuss, for example, why it is that Canadian churches seem to be exempt from fire codes or be aware that fire extinguishers.
She's like, for real? Is this guy
That's
really
fascinating, Tail. So your current assertion is that all the fucking churches that burned down in Canada over the past 2 years was accidental, and Catholic priests, on top of being fucking pedos and fucking Native American beaters, are fucking dog shit at fucking fire safety. That's what you want to contribute to this fucking conversation right now?
I'm contributing to you the facts as they stand. If you have a problem with the facts as they stand, that's your problem.
I have problems with the fucking facts because you keep doing this meta conversation bullshit that has fucking nothing to do with what's going on.
Yeah, let's skip this.
But anyway, in the alternate reality where Lance's Twitter feed lives, not only did I get absolutely wrecked in the debate, but I ran away from the debate before it even began. How can anyone believe that, you may ask? Well, because Lance posted a single 2-minute clip at the very end of our discussion when he used his allocated closing
Of course, because that's what he
statement
did. He wanted a clip. And then he posted the clip. And then he makes fun of that and says, I didn't do it because I wanted a clip. But you did do that.
All at the time that I couldn't respond.
In the end,
hey
that
guys.
is what you did.
Okay, so while I would love to do debunks of every single thing Lance has said in this rant, that would be a very long video.
Random smoky image.
And I also don't want to make it too easy for him, since I am still hoping we will have a longer conversation. And you know what? If he's going to say false things, he can do the research. He can try to back them up and find absolutely nothing to do so. So, just for this, I'm going to put little question marks over every demonstrably false claim he makes.
Yeah, I don't think there can be any restorative justice as long as the people responsible aren't taking claims for the actions they've done. If I could use a simile, it's kind of like you, Lauren Southern, because ultimately, if you had spent your career rising to become one of the darling children of the alt-right, palling around with people like Brittany Pettibone, Richard Spencer, touring around the globe with someone like, let's say, Stefan Molyneux, who is well known for measuring...
But is Brittany Pettibone even that bad? Like, I don't know much about her, but I don't remember her being that bad. She just kind of seemed like one of these right-wing people. Like, she wasn't like terribly, like, super far-right or anything.
Are they still close or anything?
I don't know. Like... I haven't heard of Brittany Pettibone in forever. I think she's just out of it. I think she completely left the sphere and just being a wife, I guess.
No.
Polls of black and white people, spreading the Great Replacement conspiracy, spreading the Great Genocide conspiracy theory, then going on tour, spreading both of those conspiracy theories, in addition to
going on tour,
join that far right nationalist group, First Europa. And
First Europa isn't even a thing. What is that?
Immigrants.
First Europa.
Doing all of this while at the same time, all of it bubbles over and boils over to the point where, at the end of the day,
craziness.
You ultimately led to one of the people contributing towards the Christchurch
First Europa,
who declared that the Great
Replacement theory. Now he's connected to the Christchurch.
Contributed what?
Took everything back.
You fucking pussy. Bringing this all up at the end so I don't have a chance to respond.
Here comes Dylan Burns to say, I'm not part. This has nothing to do with me. I'm out of here.
Each other alive if you want.
I'm out of here. This has nothing to do with me. Even though I let Lance go last, and I even gave my closing statement before Lance.
That you're going to rebrand yourself as this wonderful new centrist.
But this has nothing to do with me.
Children's books now,
I'll let you finish though, Lance, and then I'll leave if you want.
Ever happened. I think if you wanted to achieve restorative justice when it came all of this stuff, then what you had to do was simply acknowledge any of the bad things you've done in the past, but you haven't. Talk to me.
I'm like that. None of that has to do with that debate.
7,000 accusations at me and then ask
That's
me
a whole
to
other
respond to
thing.
them. That's great. Connor and I are going to have a chat with my chat, and if you want to not be a bitch boy and have a full conversation another time, we can do that, and we'll arrange that.
We'll arrange that. That's
you all have a pleasant afternoon, okay?
I'm right here, Lauren. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to go talk to...
Remember in his video, he said she agreed to a 1v1 with no mods, which is not true, right?
That's not true.
She said we'll arrange us having a discussion about it.
One of us had already
but that's
given
it.
a 2-minute closing on the actual subject of the debate. Lance completely ignored the topic and just resorted to cheap, demonstrably false character assassination. Luckily, anyone who actually watched the full conversation thought this was pathetic behavior, though ironically...
I was really rooting for Lance here because of how much I hate Lauren and everything she stands for. But it would be dishonest to call this anything other than a victory for her side. Oh my god. Imagine spending 95% of your closing argument attacking your opponent's personality and content instead of advocating for an issue you claim to be so important to you. That's the bad faith part. Another guy says, hate defending Lauren, but I get why she got pissed at the end. Lance didn't even address the debate topic in his closing statement. He just used it as a chance to attack Lauren, which, was totally a bitch move to wait until the end. Exactly. Another guy named A Person. Lance pulling that lame shit at the end should have told his audience exactly the type of person he is, but they cheered it on. I honestly don't believe the overwhelming majority of these people give two shits about any of the communities they speak on. It's so disgusting. It's a childish game for these people. Real life trauma is whittled down to memes and owns. I don't need that in my feed. Wow.
The simile he was trying to use and then
those are people who hate Lauren. Funny.
Was far more accurate than I think he even realized. He said that my refusing to admit to my supposed wrongdoing was comparable to Canada whitewashing its own history. And he said this after Connor and I had just spent 2 hours proving that he and his partner were lying about Canada's history if they knew anything about it at all. So yes, Lance, you are correct. I am just like the Canadian government in that you've asserted a bunch of ill-researched, hysterical, disingenuous lies about me, of which I refuse to admit to any
and Canada.
So, well...
without being able to back it up.
But being a hysterical, disingenuous liar, Lance, of course, didn't bother with context. He just released the 2-minute clip of him trash-talking me in order to make it look like he won. And I am very sorry to say that it worked briefly. Lauren could do nothing but run off.
That's absolutely bodied her.
My planet needs me excuse at the end.
Yeah,
she is bailing when confronted like cold feet Crowder. Sorry, but no.
That's
The
not what
truth is
happened.
that I had just endured the most mind-numbing 2 hours
Yeah,
of
she
my
already
life
did 2 hours
debating
of
with
the
two
debate, which
people
is what was
who
agreed on.
resembled a chicken playing
And then he
chess,
did that at the
kicking
very
all the
end, and then
pieces
bitch
over
about that
and
she's
shitting
gonna
all
go
over
do
the
something
board
else.
while pretending they had won. Lance knew he could get away with his whole little
Why didn't he do that from the
shenanigans
beginning?
at
I
the
know
end of the
why, because it was
conversation.
set up.
Because
Because
I
Dylan
clearly
Burns didn't want
stated
that on his
I had to
channel and
leave
said, "All right,
well
do it at
before
the
I
end."
heard his little rant.
Well, I just wanted to ask the room if you
And
wanted
then
to
I
end
can
it
say
here,
I'm out of there
wanted
if you
to
guys
keep
are gonna
going,
have
I
that
could go
kind
for
of
maybe
discussion.
another 10 minutes max.
Yeah, I
Fair
need to
enough.
wrap up soon too. Like, this dude
Yeah, she said
knew
she
what
had to
he was
wrap up.
doing.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
don't know
they
about
set it up.
other
That shit
streamers,
was
but I don't
planned
have
in
7
advance.
hours of my
For
day
sure.
to just sit around debating people. I actually have a child who needs me and a family. However, that certainly doesn't mean I was lying when I said I wanted to set up a debate on the topic for another time. Quite the opposite. I did want to have that debate, and I still want to have that debate. But I am now quite confident that Lance doesn't. I know this because I've been trying to set up a debate with him for the last 2 days.
That's exactly right.
And the results
Inside.
have not been pretty. I've reached out, I've sent him an email, I sent him this tweet. Hey, Serfs TV, I know your audience have asked you to stop debating. However, I wanted to hold you to our Debate 2.0
He
hosted
said no to
by
that.
at the Omni Liberal. Surprise, surprise, Lance said no to that.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. She's already directed all the terms of service. All right.
That was the
done
first
every single
term.
thing she's asked.
And for some reason felt the need to pretend he didn't say no, then claimed he could not have it hosted by Destiny because Destiny said he donated to Hamas, whatever. Yeah, Lance, you know what? False accusations suck, don't they?
Yeah,
If it's
that's
false,
what he's doing to
we'll
her,
have to look
and
into
then
that
saying
one.
that he
But
doesn't
okay,
want to
no
deal with
Destiny,
Destiny
no
who did
worries.
that,
We'll
but that's
figure
what
this
he's doing
out.
to
But
her.
wait, he doesn't want to mod at all. And you know what? Like, I find that kind of weird. It kind of seems like the person in the relationship
Yeah, why
who
not?
says, no, we can't go to a counselor. We can't have them observing what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of seems like he just wants to argue in bad faith, mute me, and talk over me
Mm-hmm.
with no one to hold him to account. But you know what? Even so, I am a merciful debate opponent, and I shall accommodate. So I made him another offer. Lance happens to be in Vancouver at the moment, so am I. If he really wants to 1v1 no mod debate where he can call me out to my face, let's skip the whole stream
Like
thing
he
and do
said he
this in
wanted to.
person. That's what he wants, right? That's what he said he wanted. Well, apparently not. He said no to that as well. Why do you keep changing the terms of debate, Warren? I didn't. You just said you'd be happy to do a 1v1 with me as long as it's not on Destiny's stream. This is a 1v1, not on Destiny's stream. But you have said no, Lance, because as I suspected, and as I suspect about most of the people who make completely slanderous accusations about me, you could never say it to my face. Never. Never in your life. Because you're spineless.
He
And
says,
that was
he's
the point.
saying this is a bluff. That she's bluffing here, but all he has to do is call her bluff, right? Like, if it is one. But he knows it's not. That's the thing.
Obvious to everyone when you used the last minute of a debate on Indigenous issues, something you apparently care about seriously, just to call me names. I really got to give it to the lefties, though. They've actually, a lot of them have actually called this out and held their own to account. So you used the genocide of Indigenous Canadians as a political prop to lure Lauren Southern into a debate just to dunk on her? Did you have to pretend to care about Indigenous issues to farm content,
Ouch.
views, and social credit? Has
Yeah.
all of your coverage on this just been a huge grift? Yes, Anthony, it has been. But it is worse. It is so much worse than that. Let's do something that this debate has proven is really very dangerous. Let's assume Lance is sincere about his arguments for a second. Let's assume he really does believe that I am this closeted Nazi queen trying to infect the public square with my fascist ideology under the cover of enlightened centrism. I'm not, but just for the sake of argument, let's say he really believes that I am. Put yourself in his shoes. If you had the chance to confront someone you regarded as that devious and unrepentantly evil on a subject as important as the genocide of an entire race of people, what would you do? I can only speak for myself, but if I were in that position, I would research the hell out of the topic. I would try to anticipate every possible argument that my opponent might
make a good,
I would
honest
make
argument,
sure
not be in
I
bad
had
faith.
every minute
Exactly.
detail of their past wrongdoings memorized, so when it came time to confront them about that past, I would do it chapter and verse with receipts aplenty. After all, for all I know, I might never get a chance to confront this person again. I have to make it count. And if by some miracle my antagonist offered me the opportunity to talk solely about their past in a...
So Confident Righteous may actually send her some money.
But
she has a kid. It'll help her out.
I had
That's for
every salacious detail about them and the unsavory shenanigans they were up to. In short, I'd treat it like being a prosecutor who gets to cross-examine the defendant in a celebrity murder trial, as if this was my one and only shot to nail this guilty monster to the wall. Did Lance do any of this?
No.
No. He half-assed the research on the topic of our debate so badly that he walked in without even knowing basic facts. But worse than that, he didn't even get the details of the slander against me right. For one example of many, Lance accused me of palling around with First Europa. This is the first time a leftist has ever even accused me of that, considering First Europa doesn't exist anywhere outside Lance's own head. I mean, if I had to guess, I would assume that Lance took the first from the Trumpist political slogan, America First, and the Europa from Identity Europa, an alt-right youth movement, and just mixed them together into a non-existent political organization, which I assume he probably meant Generation Identity. But fine. If Lance wants me to denounce First Europa as a form of restorative justice, I will do it.
He was so excited that he couldn't even get the name right of what he was saying.
But seriously, this is the level of research he did, trying to nail someone who he apparently wrongly believes is one of the most slippery crypto-fascists on the internet. A level of research so bad that he couldn't even get the very public, widely spread name of an organization right in a pre-written, pre-prepared statement, so he can't even blame that on, like, stumble of the mind.
He couldn't even get it right.
Why, if he can't even get a
He's so excited.
Detail
He was
like
so
that
excited
right,
to get it.
should anyone take anything he says seriously? Why should they believe there was even an iota of research or thought put into this? Forget just telling the truth. Why should anyone believe this man is even capable of knowing the truth? At best, he's just too lazy to check that he actually knows his own side's arguments. And at worst, he's too deluded to keep his own talking points straight. Either way, this is not someone you can or should rely on as a source for news and politics. But my friends, there is no mercy, truly. It somehow gets even worse than that. Again, let's assume Lance and his teammate truly believe I am this ingenious, hidden white supremacist. Yet somehow, in spite of my supposed white nationalism, I spent literally the entire debate agreeing that what happened to Indigenous people in Canada was an atrocity, and it was, even if I did contest the details for accuracy's sake of how far things went. I was able to acknowledge the legitimacy of their grievances and show empathy for why those grievances matter. Were Lance and his partner able to do the same about what was bothering me and Connor? Were they able to empathize with our grief over churches of our faith being burned down, probably by people on their own side? Well, remember how Lance's partner claimed that the church burnings in Canada happened because the priests all at once accidentally set fire to the incense inside? Remember how I said to put a pin in that? Well, take that pin right out. Because even Destiny, who is no friend of the right or conservative Christian worldviews, called that argument tantamount to Holocaust denial.
Incense and the anointing oil, because for some reason, I don't know why, this particular group of priests is just not aware that you probably shouldn't have an open flame next to flammable oil.
Wait, he's actually, this is like tantamount to Holocaust denialism. Is that really what he's doing right now? Is he going to try to claim that like all of this is fake? That there aren't really any churches that are actually being burned down right now? I think the day after that first mass burial site, wasn't there like, there were literally like, somebody linked it in chat, there were like 4 that were burned down like that very first fucking day.
Destiny was able to call that argument out for the counterfactual psychopathic dismissal that it was. But Lance wasn't. Lance stayed silent, accused us of being condescending when we called his deluded scumbag partner out, and whined that even bringing
Oh
up
my
the
God, I
church
heard
burnings
it.
at all was taking attention away from indigenous people, when everyone short of an insane person should know that one person's pain does not cancel out another person's. In other words, despite wrapping themselves in the mantle of empathy for those who are suffering, Lance and his partner showed less empathy in this debate than someone who they believed to be a Nazi. Apparently they could...
Which in their opening debate, I mean, Connor kept showing empathy and having those empathy arguments that because that's what the other guys were doing, so they were throwing empathy arguments. But he was like, if that happened to my kid, blah blah blah.
Even fake empathy in order to defeat someone they think is that evil. And this is why Lance calls me a grifter, a liar, and an apologist for atrocities. It is not delusion, it is projection. He is accusing me of those things because that is very clearly what he is. Yeah. And you know what? If he wants to prove me wrong and show that I really am this fascist he claims I am, then I will still offer him the opportunity.
He can still take
face to face, like he said he wanted. And no, Lance, my face is not a computer screen. But you know what? I don't expect him to take it.
Say it to your face, but not actually say it to our face.
Crawl back to the rancid, verminous hug box he calls an audience and drown himself in cope. My audience may wonder why I am wasting so much time on this. And fair question, guys.
It's hilarious. That's why. It's funny.
But, you know, aside from it all being darkly comical...
Why wouldn't you do it? Yeah, the comedy of it is great.
How easily human interaction becomes warped by barricading yourself behind your keyboard. Cowards like Lance,
it also shows how people are
bad
faith in arguments and how people don't spot that.
They cower behind their screens because only there can they wrap themselves in the safe cocoon of their narrative. To touch grass, let alone to face their own lives, would break that worldview they concocted. Because even if you transfigure a person into a monster on the internet, your spell breaks the instant they log off. They go back to being human, and you, well, you are left with only the soul that you have poisoned by lying about them. That is no way to live. That is no way to be human. But you know what? Even if the hole you dug yourself into is so deep, even ground-penetrating radar can't detect it, I am someone who truly believes, even if begrudgingly sometimes, that if your political worldview does not include redemption, then it is doomed. Because we all need it. The only people who believe they don't need redemption are people who think they've hid their skeletons well enough. So even if I am absolutely beyond irritated, and I think rightly so, with the degree of pathetic dismissals and ad homs endured, I genuinely do hope Lance chooses to consider and improve with new information he's presented and grow as a person rather than reject it altogether due to pride. And I, well imperfect myself, try to do the same. So Lance, I hope you're open to meeting me face to face. I have absolutely
go. She
nothing
put out
to
the
hide.
thing. Let's
So
meet
I will
face
be
to
waiting.
face. He doesn't want
And
to.
to everyone else, I will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
What a doofus. But he doesn't want to. That's what I'm saying. She's put it out there. That's the challenge. He keeps dodging it and saying that she's the one dodging it. How crazy is that? Makes no sense. I don't know what he thinks. He thinks he's pulling a fast one over people's faces, over the wool over people's eyes. It's not working.
Yeah.
How's it going, pal, from Anthony? Good. We just streamed. We got here a little late. We just streamed for a while. We watched 2 videos. We've come to the conclusion that Lance is an idiot. No, a conclusion that we came up to many, many times before, but it's fun to go over and watch him be dumb. But it's like, it's funny to watch him try to weasel out and try to twist how the situation went.
And point the finger at Lauren.
Or like I said, does he even really recognize it? Or is he really that blind to it and he thinks he did well?
Yeah. I think he's blind to it. I think
you think he's blind to it? You think he's that dumb that he doesn't recognize that his arguments are that bad?
Because those few people that were critical of him, like saying, like, geez, Lance, that really made you look like an idiot. Like, that didn't make you look good at all. Those comments, those people probably get pushed so far down, and people kissing his ass probably get pushed so far up his ass, like, that he doesn't even take time to think critically of what he's just done or said.
He may be a high functioning autistic. I think he might have. That might have been something he said about himself before, that he's autistic. What's up, Grant? So, yeah, it's possible.
Let me
see something. Yeah, that's fun. I don't get
He's
it.
really isn't self-aware.
I don't get how he's so dumb sometimes, but that's why I say it's at a level. It's like at such a level that you feel like making it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just, I don't know. That's how
Playing
that's
dumb.
that's the level of dumb it is, that it feels like that you come to that idea. Like it drops to another level every time that you're like, is this real, or like is he just trying, like, playing dumb to like not get this called on him? Like, what's going on?
Like, you're fucking with me, right?
Right? Yeah, exactly. It's like you're fucking with me, right? There's no way you're this dumb, right? Like, you got to just be using that as an excuse to try to get away with this or something. All right, well, that's the end of the stream, guys. Thanks for watching. It's been hilarious and fun. But
Yeah,
yeah.
it's been fun.